The Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m. and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, I am Sam and that is Mel. Actually, I guess I just forgot the whole welcome to episode 122 of Powerbombshells, but we are running a little crazy today, so it makes sense that the whole intro was crazy too. So,
it's all Mel's fault.
Listen, if it hadn't been for Mel came in before I did, and so we were almost on the opposite side, and we didn't want to throw everybody off, but apparently it still threw me off, even though I'm on the correct side of the screen now.
Yeah.
My brain is a little thrown off, apparently.
Your brain was on the other side of the screen. It makes
apparently so.
It worked.
It hasn't made its way back over yet. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, we are two broads talking about the wrestling we watch, and today is happy Forbidden Door Day to everybody who celebrates. I know Brad is not in the chat today because he is # @Forbidden Door
at the show. # in New York or in Long Island, I should say, or on Long Island.
On Long Island.
On it.
On. Make sure you say it correctly. Get in trouble. Don't come for us. But I'm excited. There's a ton of matches to discuss because last night during Collision, which I was covering live,
lovely,
they added 2 more matches, and my editor was like, did Tony really just add 2 more matches? And I was like, he did. And he's like, can you please write the write-up about these matches after you're done? I was like, sure.
All right.
He was like, 14 matches is insane. But on the one hand, which it's a lot, but as I've seen quite a few people point out, if they're paying that money to be at that show, paying that amount of money, and we're paying $50 for a pay-per-view versus $2 or however much a month you pay for Peacock, then it's at least you're getting your money's worth. Because if you're going to Peacock, generally now WWE's PLEs are 5 matches.
Wow.
But then they're generally about 5 matches or so. So if you're paying 50 pay-per-view, then people want their money's worth. As we've seen a lot of comments about, they're like, $50 is not easy to pay. And obviously it sounds possibly like the Bleacher Report stuff is winding down because now it's available on Triller. There's rumors of whatever deal is coming that could change things as well. But for now, it seems like the people who are paying the $50 a month are like, if I have to budget that much, then I want my $50 worth, which is completely understandable.
No, I mean, it's a pay-per-view. It should be a lot. I mean, it should be, and it's also the first Forbidden Door that's not had the same. That's not the vibe of the previous Forbidden Doors. So.
Right.
You really had to
companies involved.
Do something special with it because it's different now because you have all the talent you were featuring on the first 2 Forbidden Doors in your company. Like they're in your roster now, or like, so you have to do something to make it special again. Like, I mean, let's face it, like, this is the first one I'll be sitting in my living room watching. So this is like Forbidden Door 3. So, I mean, # not at Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
But so it'll be really interesting to watch it live with the commentary, watch the, TV presentation, not be in the building, everything else. I'm a little disappointed because that Zack Sabre match is pretty heavy duty. But on the other hand, this year with things the way they are and money as tight as it is, like, I'm cool with sitting in my living room and paying the $50, and I'm definitely getting $50 worth. So
for sure. And then you've got the stacked pre-show that's 4 matches, and 2 of those are women's matches, and there's a lot. I mean, and I get, like, it's a little frustrating to have like these trios and multiple trios matches and all these people that they're cramming on to it, but also, again, like you said, we're involving multiple companies now. It's not just AEW and New Japan. CMLL is involved, Stardom is involved. People from who maybe typically don't watch Forbidden Door might be watching today because they are, people who watch CMLL or they watch Stardom and things like that. So they might be paying, and so then you're going to give them their money's worth too, and hope that they come back and hope that they spend more. So, I'm not. I mean, I'm just glad I don't have to cover it. I'd probably be speaking differently if I had to write about if I was covering the show and having to watch 14 matches. I might be a little irritated, but otherwise, I think for the most part, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really. He always stacks his cards up. I mean, he really does. This is huge. I mean, yeah, I feel Jeremy and Steven are going to be going at like 2 a.m. or something.
Probably. Well,
fortunately for them, it's like 11 still, but
Yeah, but it's a long night. And then the people who, especially for the other thing I will say, as somebody who has attended as media before, it's a long night because you have to walk, you're there for all the matches and you're there in the building, but then you have to wait to get taken to the media room, and you have to wait for, get situated, get the people who are coming up. And then it depends on how many people come in, how long Tony wants to talk for. Cause like the last one seemed to go really quick. Like Tony didn't talk very long, and there wasn't like a whole, they had a few wrestlers on there, but they seemed to keep it pretty concise. So maybe they do that again tonight. I don't know. But that can make for a very long night for media as well. So it can be a lot for sure. I'm going to hit up some of these comments over here. Thank you for everybody who is joining us today. We had Garrett here. I don't know if he's still here. He was here at the beginning and told us, let's go, Sam and Mel. He is a big fan of the PrePre Show, which we are very happy about. Brad's
very grateful that he enjoys it, because he's the guy that makes the calls and gets paid by Tony Khan. So
of course, so he's got to earn that paycheck today.
Right, exactly.
So Brad, I'm mistaken. Brad is here for a little bit, but he said that he's leaving about 3:00 since the doors are at 6. Well, with the way this card is going, we have to go over. We'll still be going when you leave at 3:00.
Make sure you look around the venue. Like, don't just go straight inside if you're looking for merch, because we found more merch in there was like a truck outside. So look around the venue if there's little like hidden spots around there to see if there's extra merch trucks, because I don't know what CML, actually I do kind of know, because at Arena Mexico you can get like freaking everything. Like shopping is half the trip.
Right.
But New Japan is terrible at bringing merch. Terrible. I got a Forbidden Door. I didn't get anything at the Madison Square Garden show, but Bob got a Kota Ibushi shirt. He managed to get like one of the last ones.
Oh, nice.
I just got a Forbidden Door one the second time, but the third time we actually walked around and found they were like, oh, it says Toronto on it. And it had like a Canadian thing on one side and Forbidden Door thing on the other, and all this. So it's worthwhile peeking around and seeing if some of those merch trucks or the vendor trucks are about before you go inside. And inevitably they have to order a hoodie. Like, the funniest thing about it was when we went to Chicago, John came from Ireland to Chicago, went to the show. The hoodie he wanted wasn't in stock. So when he went home, he ordered it and it shipped from Chicago.
Wow. Sounds about right.
That's like,
that sounds about right.
Mel's tips for Forbidden Door going live.
You have
and they start
right
really
here from the
on
expert.
Time with all the pre-show stuff, all the pre-show, all the art matches. They go. So you want to get there. Any surprise they're going to throw at you guys.
Definitely.
It's worth it.
Eddie says we have 4 women's matches on the card tonight.
I know.
Very excited about that.
Good ones too. Good matchups.
They are, and I've heard this from a lot of people, that people are more interested in the women's matches than anything else, which is nice. Which A, proves our point, and B, is about damn time that they
We're
start
finally getting the women wrestling the way that women wrestle.
Yeah.
Like we're finally seeing women really wrestle, like what you see in Stardom and what you see in TJPW, where they are hitting just as hard. I mean, I watched Maki Ito and Minoru Suzuki recently, that wrestling match.
Yeah.
freaking amazing. But they weren't holding back. They did a whole gimmick where she actually hit him, and then it was like she was bracing for impact. I mean, it was a great match, man. But
I've seen clips of it. I heard it was really good.
Oh, it's so fun. It was so much fun. It was one of the things where John's like, go watch this immediately. I have a playlist of matches I'm currently working on that he's been giving me from all the most recent shows from Noah and TJPW, and I need to get the Bullet Train matches on there, so I need to go check that one out.
I saw that they had another one. I saw that Liger was in it, and I saw that Miko Satomura was in it, that the mayor was involved. I saw all the clips. See, again, one of the perks of being a night owl is sometimes you see these tweets come up in real time.
Tomorrow, then. It's tomorrow, then.
Yes. So,
where they are.
Right. So I was seeing tweets come up from DDT in real time on my timeline. And so I was sending it to a couple of Slack channels that I'm in. And so that's great.
Yeah, I was super excited because John actually dumped a bunch of pictures and he's like, look what happened today.
So
he's
good.
like, sorry, I just had to dump a whole bunch of Liger in your, and I'm like,
never apologize for Liger. Ever.
There's never a wrong time for Liger.
Never.
I mean, I know I told this before, but my noon alarm for my pills is Liger's theme.
Mm-hmm.
And also when I give my rescue puppy his stuff. And so now he knows Liger's theme. And a couple of times, because of trying to like get him to, because of things he reacts to, I've played the theme for him to get him to like distract him and bring him in the house. And he will actually come running.
That's amazing. That's
so
fantastic. The power of Liger.
I have a puppy, a rescue puppy, who part of his therapy is Liger's theme helps him get redirected.
That's incredible. They should put that in papers.
Guys, I know Bluey is cute, but for the love of God, do not get an Australian cattle dog unless you are ready. Blue Heeler, they are working dogs. They need jobs. They need attention. They need stimulation. Like, be smart. They can learn to come to Liger's theme.
That's pretty intelligent, I would say.
Yeah.
That also is a positive for getting, if that is a pro for getting a Blue Healers, can teach to come to Liger's theme.
You got to work really hard to get to that point.
Oh, I can imagine.
Like 3 years now. His gotcha day was this past week. So.
Oh,
I was like, oh wow, you've been here 3 years now. See, you're not
flies by. Yeah, Miley's 5-year gotcha day was in March. Wow. And so I'm like, 5 years? That does not compute.
I know.
Does not compute.
Dog tangent.
Yes. So VA guy believes it's not worth buying a pay-per-view. Just go to Dave & Buster's and watch for free while you're having a meal. Unless you have dietary restrictions, then not so much. It's easier to eat in your home and be careful. But I get it. I get the sentiment. And luckily I have a friend that I split the pay-per-view with every month. And even though the one big con with Triller is you cannot watch from 2 devices at the same time. Luckily, my friend is going to be at a wrestling show today, and he was like, I'm not going to watch it till tomorrow. You can go ahead and watch it tonight. So it's like, and that worked out last month. But then after that, I was like, I don't know what'll happen. We may just have to figure, I hate that about you. I was like, that's the one positive thing with Bleacher Report is that we can both watch at the same time and it's not a problem. That's like their one pro.
Yeah, that's really frustrating because
there's a lot of people.
I know that they're cracking down on like user sharing and all that stuff and whatever, but also you need to be able to use it on multiple devices. Like we have Audible. If we weren't able to use it on multiple devices at the same time, we would be screwed. Because we both listen to books in different locations at the same time all the time. So
I mean, I get their reasoning behind it, but it's also harmful to them because I almost was like, do we buy through Bleacher Report instead of Triller so that we can both watch at the same time? So that's potentially taking business away from them because it's easier to watch through Bleacher Report than it is through Triller. And that's something that, and if they're moving away from Bleacher Report and Triller is the main thing. I mean, obviously, there's HBO Max and that whole thing if that ever comes to fruition. But in the meantime, that's going to be really hard for a lot of people to do Triller. And then maybe we will have to do like USVA guys and then go to Dave and Buster's and just hope that they have something that fits dietary restrictions. And if not, then eat beforehand and maybe put some snacks in the car and run out real quick. Not during a women's match, though. During a Jericho match.
During a Jericho match. Thank
what?
you. You was like,
what? Except for this time, they're like, well, we'll get to it when we get to the car. But they put somebody in there to make it.
They put two people.
Listen, their opponents. Clearly, their opponents. I love all three of them, and that's that's that.
They made that match interesting. Finally.
Fine. Yes, we'll get to that. But yes.
Yes.
LaRon, I saw LaRon tweet this too. He said that we have more matches on 0 Hour than they had on SmackDown Friday night. This is, as someone who watched SmackDown, can confirm. There were 3 matches on SmackDown this week.
What do they do? It's 2 hours.
Well, this one actually was kind of like the opening was they opened with a brawl with Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Kevin Owens against the New Bloodline. They were like brawling at the beginning. It was actually the brawl was actually really cool. And of course, Kevin Owens being Kevin Owens found something to jump off of and go through a table because it's what he does. So but the brawl was actually a lot of fun. Then they did Money in the Bank qualifying matches. A couple other things. And then the closing segment was actually really good. They were going to do another because Jacob Fatu debuted last Friday. So they were going to do a new ceremony because they did a ceremony a few weeks ago where they each got the new members of the bloodline got their new like nicknames and things like that. And so that's what was supposed to happen with Jacob. And it ended up being a thing where Solo wanted to be acknowledged like Roman. And it was so he goes down the line and he talks to each one of them and Tama Tonga like responds in Tongan. And then he was like, I acknowledge. So they each acknowledge him, get to Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman is like, the whole time you see him like, I can't say this. I can't say. Then they have Roman's lay and they give it to him. And he was like, where did you get this? And then he said, and then finally, like they built it perfectly. Like you can say a lot of things about Paul Heyman. And I could too. But he played this part really, really well. And they just get to this big crescendo and they're in Madison Square Garden. And he said, I acknowledge. And he pauses and the crowd's like freaking out. The crowd's been chanting, we want Roman all night long. Every time Solo talks, we want Roman louder and louder. And he said, I acknowledge that you are not my tribal chief. And he ate so he got a Samoan spike for it. They like Jacob Fatu did a Samoan, I think he did like a Samoan drop off the turnbuckle. Then then he got a 3-person power bomb through the table. Like they just decimated Paul Heyman and they made Jacob Fatu look like a star already. Like he has this really cool entrance and like they're going all in on him, it seems like. So the storyline finally, because it's been kind of losing a lot of steam without Roman there. So this kind of reinvigorated everything. And so now you've got this. And then you have Orton and you have Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes who are kind of joining forces together against them. So that kind of feels like they've got a new direction finally. So, but despite all of those, like it was bookended really well. But yes, there were 3 whole matches in that 2-hour period.
Wow. Oof.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're getting paid. I know you wouldn't be doing it otherwise.
Me too, because that's why.
Well, you wouldn't be wasting your time. There's so many better things you could be doing with your time.
Other wrestling otherwise, I would probably be watching. But yes, at least there are some bright spots that make it worth my while.
That's good. I mean,
there
were a couple when I was watching last year. I was doing it for a reason, but that last go really sealed it. Like not just like before, and that was before the shenanigans with the lawsuit. Like,
yeah,
which
I didn't want to. We will get to.
We'll talk about that on a different Monday. Show because otherwise
I
it'll
have
take
a
too
lot
long
to say about that, and today is not the day to do that. That will probably happen on next week's episode because I have a whole lot to say about that. Because
I wanted to ask you about it, but I was like, we're doing the PrePre Show this week. We're not doing any of that. I'm sure there's going to be another week's worth of stuff on top of that to talk about.
Yeah, I was about to say by then we'll have
just
another.
Hearing the recaps on
was
observers has been like, and then
Watching
reading
it
like
in real
reading
time?
recaps. I'm like, that's gross.
It's very gross.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that'll be a different
But
time.
I was like,
and a
we'll save that
different
for next week because,
context.
like you said, we'll have there'll be another Raw episode between now and then, and we'll figure that out. I saw this from Brad, and actually, when I was going to retweet because Fight Game Media tweeted about us being live, and when I went to retweet it, I saw a video of Ospreay, but obviously I didn't listen because we're on air. But Brad says that Ospreay just put up a video saying that he landed in the U.S. on Tuesday, or when he landed on Tuesday, he got word that his Nana had passed.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's awful.
I'm
I
so
hate
sorry
to
to
hear that.
him and his family.
Me too. Yeah, because I saw something about please send him positive vibes today, and then it was like a video, but clearly I couldn't. But thank you, Brad, for that, for letting us know. That sucks. That's a heavy thing to have to deal with anytime, but especially when you have something that's, wrestling wrestling is obviously an escape, but family is the most important thing, and I hate that he has to be thinking about that while he's trying to prepare for this match and then be in this big match and things like that. So
it makes you appreciate like what they for our entertainment. These people are being taken away from serious things a lot. Like I appreciate, that's why I try and be respectful, and I try not to be one of those crazy fans, and try not, like, it's like if it happens and you can walk up to someone and talk to them, great, but if not, like, I just let it kind of happen naturally. It's like they go through so much and they have to like go out there. It's game FaceTime. I've got to have to deal with that, and best wishes to him.
For sure. Definitely. I hate to hear that.
That's terrible.
That sucks. I do agree with Lauren that I do wish they had more women from CMLL on the card. Hopefully we get that next year. I do like that they had Zeus's was involved last night in a Collision. I thought that was really cool. I'm glad that they brought her in. I really was impressed with her her match a few weeks ago. Yeah, she is really cool, and she's really great. So I really enjoyed that. So hopefully that means we get more of her and other people from CML not named Tessa Blanchard.
Right.
Don't bring her here.
Please,
leave her there.
Please
leave her there. Keep her away from everything.
Just don't bring more problems into your situation. You just don't need it. It's never worked out.
Oh, Brad brings up a really good. No, it has never worked out. And please don't. There's what is the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Correct.
Don't do it.
Just don't. It's not
Don't do that. So Brad says, luckily New York has a curfew on when the show can end. I forgot all about that. So then they'll have to work. They'll probably have a hard out unless Tony wants to pay for overtime for the unions working the show.
That's a great point.
Which, with it being Tony, I would not be surprised by that. But I think he'll probably try to stick to it.
But that's not going to be cheap.
No.
I have a good friend that lives on Long Island also. So like he kind of explained like how the island's broken down and all the different like towns and stuff on there. And once for us, it was really cute. In Kyle, who did our at Obey Cube, who did our logo, he lives on Long Island, and so he was telling us all about, not to like out him, but all about how like this is how it's cut up and this is where everything is, because we're all like, explain this insane place to us. We are not from there. So
explain your ways.
I had like growing up, I had camping. We had people from Long Island across, their campsite was across from ours, and they had the accent and the whole deal, like my friends do. I love it, but it's like that was my like limited view of like knowing about Long Island until we visited. Of course, we went to Port Jefferson at one point. We went to like the ferry, because you can take a ferry from Long Island to Boston.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's cool. I kind of like that. I'm excited that Brad's going. I'm excited to have somebody else's live perspective when he comes. Like, when I almost feel like he's going to have to, you definitely have to show up next week in the chat and tell us about.
Yes.
At minimum.
We demand it. We demand it.
Yeah,
I've been to Long Island a couple times. I have a really good friend who lives up there, and my first trip to New York, I was there for CMJ, which is the college. The CMJ doesn't exist anymore, but it was the college. It's for college radio, and it was they used to have an annual festival up there, and so I went for work, and so I was in the city for that, but then I stayed on Long Island because she was my coworker at the time. So I stayed with her, and then I went back to visit her for her 40th birthday and stayed on the island for a few days with her. And got
it's
to
an excellent train. Love that train.
It is an excellent train.
Long Island Railroad. right from JFK. Good stuff.
Brad also points out that they had a VIP ticket for early entry 30 minutes prior to doors, an exclusive line, free merch stands for $150 per ticket. I wasn't paying $450 for the three of us to go in 30 minutes earlier. No, save your money, Brad.
No, because there's no guarantee they're going to have enough merch anyway, and so you just wasted your money.
Right. And LaRon,
they're not reliable enough with their merch for me to even consider paying that.
Yeah. LaRon says merch is the one area where AEW still needs to step up their game. I can't believe the replica belts, the few they do have, are so expensive. Yes, I would agree. They're not
like, it's for as accessible as merchandising is today. It's like, there's really no excuse. They should have more stuff. And also, it's like getting the concert tee or the program from the theater. Like, this is my I was there thing. Like, this is all you have. You have three choices and not enough for, you've got over 9,000 people coming to your building. Right. Plan accordingly. This is not
USVA guy wants you to know that those New Japan things at AEW are not their booths. Those are the AEW booths. So please do not blame New Japan.
Okay. All right. Well, okay.
He says terrible. He said we have the best merch in the business. So just wanted to throw that in there.
No, that's great.
Fair enough. We will not blame you guys for that. We will blame
not at all
AEW.
Actually, blame both. I mean, I just think both. You need to have you got.
I mean, and I haven't been to it.
Trying to make this a special feature, and especially this year, out of all the years, they should probably bring it with the merch.
I agree.
They're trying. This is a different forbidden door than the last 2 years that we've had.
New Japan hasn't been to Charlotte in a couple of years, so I can't speak to the current way they run things. But I didn't buy merch when they were here the last time, though, because budget reasons, and probably my car, because every time there's always something. Yeah. But they seem to have a decent amount when they were here last in Charlotte, I want to say. But I have heard that they have run, not they as a New Japan, but that when there have been things that merch has been hard to get to, and then or you have a variety of merch that doesn't sell well like they thought, like the Ric Flair merch apparently didn't sell so well in the Charlotte area like they thought it was, because
of all the things,
even though it has been Flair country for 5 decades, his shenanigans have turned a lot of the young people who would buy that merch don't like him, and so he did not apparently do so well the last time they were here.
I mean,
which I'm not surprised about.
I'm utterly unshocked.
Here we go. I didn't see this. I'm going down the chat. So USVA guy says AEW does not permit us to run our own booths. I won't be there tonight because they don't permit us to run our PR booth. Oh, that's really interesting. Very interesting.
Wow.
Thank you for that tidbit of information, because then that
makes me okay. Now I'm really mad at AEW. Thank you for clarifying. That's BS. They let all the wrestlers work separately for all the other times, but when a show comes up, when you need it the most, when you can make the most kickbacks off of it, that's BS.
That is BS.
That's a little wow. Tony's really leaning into that Carney. He is what he is.
We are reframing that.
Wow, thank you. I mean, thanks for clarifying, but also my anger is properly redirected, because F that. That's dumb.
For real.
That's stupid.
Paul said that fingers crossed the women's matches get time tonight. I sure hope so.
Hope so. Especially
all of them, all four,
all of them,
including the two. I mean, I'm hoping, because Well, of course. I mean, they seem obvious reasons on why they should all get. Well, they should get time anyway, obviously. But then there's a Owen Cup tournament match in the pre-show.
A
There's
big
a
one.
pre-show that involves a big story with 2 women between Chris and Willow, and obviously they brought in women from Stardom for these matches. And then there's 2 title matches on the card as well. So give these, since you have to have a million trios and tag team matches on here, then you can cut those down a little bit. Since you had to have them on this card.
Yeah, like the ladder match is a little, I mean, I get it because of what they do, but I don't know.
I mean, and we know who, well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we're going to go through them.
Get to it. So Lady B says that I have really enjoyed Mina Shirakawa during this run. Me too. She is a star. She's so charismatic, and her, she's cuts great promos, and she's got the great facial expressions. Clearly she's an amazing wrestler on top of that. Like, she's really, really good. I've been really impressed with her, and I love the storyline. It's definitely one of the most compelling things that they're doing right now. And so I'm really excited with the way this has been playing out. And I'm very curious. Again, we'll get to some of that later on when we cover the match itself, but really looking forward to that one. Brad said that it will let him watch from 2 devices all the time. When we try to watch, the last time that we tried to watch an AEW pay-per-view on Triller, it wouldn't let us. It said that and then I went and read like the little fine print, and it was saying that you have to be on, you can't be, and you can watch 2 devices if you're in the house, but not in 2 separate places. Like, so if Matthew and I are trying, like if Matthew and his wife are watching from his house and me and Nikki are watching from our house, we cannot watch at the same time. It won't allow us. If we're in the same home, then yes, probably I could probably watch from 2 different devices within the house, but in 2 separate, like outside of the home, it doesn't let you do that, which is very unfortunate. And it's in the life. That's how we found out was in the fine print.
That's really super suck, because both for travel and things like when I was in the hospital, it was super helpful when some of the services
I can imagine
had streaming. Like, I mean, that was before like what we have now, but
yeah,
I mean, I would bring my computer and we would watch movies on my computer. So like that was what we had to do. Otherwise,
yeah, right, of course, yeah,
but
it's frustrating.
I mean, I get it's a crackdown on people sharing, but it's stupid.
Yes. Brad said it needs the same Wi-Fi to watch the same time. That sucks. They used to do that. Damn it, Triller. Yeah, damn it, Triller. Because otherwise, like, I really enjoy Triller. I use Triller all the time because
it's a really good. I mean,
I watch Revolver on there. I watch GCW on there. Sometimes I watch some other. Sometimes I've watched, like, during the Mania weekend, I was watching like a ton of shows via Triller, and like otherwise, like, it's a pretty great experience with like I mean, obviously in some places, depending where on the indie show, like sometimes you're gonna have some lagging or things won't play correctly, but for the most part, like it's I love using Triller. And again, I will brag about still being grandfathered in on the original price, where I only pay $4.99 a month to watch some really great stuff. But I think it's still $7.99 a month. I don't know if they've increased the prices, but there's so much wrestling on there, and there's a bunch of good stuff on there. So other than that, that is my one complaint with them. And then Laurent says that hopefully the women's matches all get time. Too often they are the shortest matches on the card, and that needs to change, especially with 2 women's titles on the main card. I could not agree with you more. Before we hit up this card, though, Mel has some things she wants to talk about. We were going to talk about it last week, but she wanted to gather some more information. And also, we probably would have been here for another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And so we want to get to that here before we get to the card. And real quick, hello, Hassan. Happy Forbidden Door Day to you as well. We are very excited about that. Glad you could join us. But yeah, so I will let Mel take it away.
Well, so I told Sam last week, because she's not a subscriber, but I am. So the Wrestling Observer, F4W Online Wrestling Observer, they unceremoniously and like randomly decided it's 2 weeks now, so a little over a week ago, to that they're increasing their prices. So I woke up to this email. This is the email that I got. So Wrestling Observer, Figure 4 Online, Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, updating prices to bring you more. We hope you're enjoying everything F4W has to offer. We're updating our prices to bring you more great news, analysis, and entertainment. Your monthly prices will change to $14.99 on July 1st, 2024. So that's Monday.
That's tomorrow.
This update will allow us to deliver even more value for your membership and keep up with the ever-rising cost of doing business. And then they give you questions, click here, et al. Existing customer price will increase $14.99 for the monthly. 3 months is $39.99, and 6 months is going to $76.99. And the worst of all, 1 year subscription is going up to $149.99.
And what is the yearly now?
And I, thankfully, because I try to do the annual subscription because it costs less over the course of the year.
Sure. Right.
It was $112.
That's a $112. Going from $112 to $149 is a huge jump, especially on like 10 days notice, which is crazy.
And might have been even $120, but even that's is $25 more dollars.
Yeah, that you weren't expecting, and you got no notice.
And I told Sam last week, and this was one of my beefs, is if I had been a monthly subscriber because of where I am financially right now, and I had gotten this email, I would have had to unsubscribe for the month of July, because that's increasing the price from $11 or $12 to $15. So that's a $3 to $50 to $4 increase per month.
Right.
That now costs as much monthly as that's my Netflix subscription costs. Right. That I'm pretty sure it might be $13.99, but still. And they did it with like 2 weeks. There was no and I guess no company's gonna like roll out price changes and give you a big like warning about it. They're obviously gonna just drop it in the middle of the night, which they did. Sure. I mean, I did check our Discord, and I do believe that someone in our Discord had to unsubscribe because of the unexpected price increase. So they did have to turn theirs off for the month.
I mean, that's totally understandable when you are trying to budget for everything else, and this is not a necessity. It is something that is nice to have if you can afford it. But we know, like, we saw how hard it was just to get people to subscribe to our Patreon. And it's not because we weren't putting out good content, and it's not because it wasn't worth the price. We're having to compete with everything else. And again, and that's when the economy has not been great. You're already paying $50 for a pay-per-view a month. You're paying for all of these things. And there's things that I have had to cut off because I'm like, just this month, it's not going to work out. And luckily, like Mel and I were talking about with like one of the good features about Hulu is they'll let you pause up to 12. I think it's 12 weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. It lets you pause it and you don't have to cancel anything. And then, if you do like I do, put a reminder in your phone and it will remind you of if it's when it's getting ready to come back, so you're not surprised by a charge. You're like, ooh, I forgot that was paused. But yeah, that's hard. It's
a lot.
It's frustrating when that is a lot. It is.
Well, it was completely unexpected.
Right.
It gave you essentially 2 weeks if you're a monthly subscriber. And nothing, they say we're doing it to give you more of these things.
Yes, that's right.
But in
that
no
was the other
way
big thing we talked about.
Do they give me a specific example? They're not adding the video subscription
Yes.
So there's a video side that you have to subscribe to additionally. So when Garrett and Dave or Brian and Dave or Brian and Vinny or all those guys are live, if you subscribe to the video side of things, you get that on YouTube. It's like you can watch it live, like what we're doing right now.
Right.
But you can pay for it. Well, they're not adding that to the subscription. So, but they say to bring you more of these things, but give me no specific example of like, how are you spending this more money, this $5 more a month, or this $4.50 a month, whatever. I mean, let's call it what it is. Like I'm rounding up. It's a lot of money. Or $100 or $25 more a year. I mean, it's gonna depend. Like that's in December when I have to renew.
Mm-hmm.
Well, That's not a big month for cash output.
No, it isn't.
That's not like right in the middle of the holiday season. They usually run a Black Friday sale, and that's when I sign up. That's when I renew. So that's when I first signed up.
Yeah.
Because you get like the first week or something for free, and that's fine, whatever. So I get 7 days. But again, it was the unceremonious, like, we're raising our prices to be the same as Netflix to do these things for you, but we're not going to give you any specific examples. We're just, and the argument the pushback I was getting in the Discord primarily consisted of, well, the value is the Observer newsletter and everything else is just icing.
Which I get. I understand that. You are paying for people's time, somebody who writes and things like that. We create content through here. I get it. You are putting in a lot of work behind the scenes, then with the finished product, whether that's writing or podcasting or whatever it is. So people should be compensated for their time. Totally get that. That's not the argument. It's not saying that people aren't worth it, but to say basically, if their argument is you should not complain about it because you're getting access to Dave Meltzer, like that's probably a selling point for some people.
It's a selling point for a lot of people.
That's not a great justification. And that is not to take anything away from him, because clearly he's been doing it for a very long time. He's one of the most trusted voices in this business. That's not a knock at that at all. But to say that that's why you shouldn't complain about it, that's not it. And people, like, you've got to be realistic. Sure, for some people, that $3 increase is not going to hurt them whatsoever. Sure, they'll pay it, no problem. But for a lot of people, especially not just in the US, but there are people outside of the US who subscribe. And a lot of those countries are in actual recessions. Like, we don't have that title yet that we're in a recession, but it's pretty damn close to it. In a lot of cases. Japan is they've been in a recession for a while. England has been in a recession for a while. So then you have these people in outside countries, and maybe these people who are in recessions are not subscribing already. Maybe they've already canceled it. But to say that you should pay for it because it's Dave Meltzer, I think is an extremely that's not a valid argument. If that's people have real things I don't want to say real things to pay for, because I'm not trying to devalue what they're doing, but you have to pick and choose what you can pay for. And to say, well, you're paying for Dave Meltzer. Okay, well, I'm paying for Netflix, which is hundreds of creators. Like, so almost if you can't afford it, then we don't want you here.
That was mindset. I actually even said this in the Discord. I said, well, maybe this is a way for them to do away with some of the undesirables. Maybe the correlation, the mindset, because of some of the people involved. And again, this isn't like Dave made this decision.
Sure.
So, I mean, to be clear, this was not something like Dave decided to raise the prices. The Observer is owned by outside people. Dave is employed.
He's the face of it.
His name,
his name is the subscriptions.
Oh, of course. I mean, he is.
I mean, I guess you could make the argument for Brian.
The counter argument to the argument, it is his name. Yeah. And Brian too, obviously, but bigger than that, you've got a guy who's been covering wrestling across the world since 1983 or something like that. Like, my entire life he's been doing it. And I get that, and that's great. And I do want access. But even I said to some people, well, then maybe what I'll do is I'll do the monthly, I'll turn it off, I'll wait until a bunch of people die, and then I'll go on there and download a bunch of stuff, and then I'll unsubscribe. So I'll just subscribe like every 3 months or something for $15.99 and get everything I need onto, I'll use one of my zip drives or something and just download all my I can catch up on the podcast later. I enjoy the podcast portion a lot. And I'm almost subscribed more for the podcast than I am for the Observer some weeks, because there's some weeks, especially, and I think it was Kevin Neely made this point, and I totally agree with this, subscribing for Garrett's Friday Talk with Dave, because they go over the newsletter a lot.
Right.
And Garrett, because Garrett is Garrett, and he is the person that's going to, because he is deep in the weeds with this kind of stuff. He's really good at like breaking down the Observer in that like 2-hour span or whatever, and talking to Dave about like this and that and everything else, and and so I really love that Friday show. That's like if I don't get to read every single 80,000 words that he's put down this week, like I need to read the Sika bio. I want to. I love the history stuff. I love knowing these things. Again, like this Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers is like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I'm just like, I just open a page at random and read about a wrestler and then like walk away.
Yeah.
Like, it's frustrating because everyone's raising their prices. So I'm not like shocked.
Right.
It's the sort of stunning lack of what am I getting for my money? And also, so is Garrett getting a raise? Is Jeff getting a raise?
Well, that's a comment that's here that Lady B brings up. It says, I listened to Brian talk about it on his podcast this week. He said they did it partly to help keep writers and creators on staff and to avoid pay cuts / layoffs, but they should have explained that more for sure. Okay, it shouldn't have taken a podcast to tell you that, though. It should have been.
Well, it's hard for me to get all of them, and I was wondering.
No, but I'm saying it should have been in your right. But I'm saying it should have been in your email. It should have been in that email. In part, we're doing this to, times are hard right now. We want to keep people on staff. We don't want to lay anybody off. This is part of the reason for it. Like that should have been in that email that was sent out. That email also comes off as, I don't want to say cold, but it's just like, I guess they're just like, we're raising your prices for more.
For more stuff.
You've got till June 1st. So you've got
July.
Or July 1st, rather. Yeah.
You have 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I get that part. And then also Brad says, and he brings up the video that you did, that it says, I was a yearly and mine re-upped a little over a month ago, but I canceled it going forward. I get the rest of the time at my old rate, but I can't re-up again. That's insane. And no video.
Yeah, the video thing has been, I'm not the only person. The first thing I said was, am I getting the video? And the answer is that seems to be no. And to me, it's like, well, then that does not justify a $3 to $4 increase per month or more, and a $20 fucking increase yearly. That's a lot. I mean, I might have to go back to splitting it with people. I may have to, you know what I mean? It's like, it's whatever. And then you're actually losing out on subscribers, because what's going to happen is it's going to be like me and my buddies sharing one account, reading what we want to read, and splitting.
And that's one of the things that I was like, when you told me about this last week, I wonder how many people canceled their subscription when they got that email because they weren't going to be able to afford it for the next month. Like how many people got that email and was like, and immediately canceled. Like, I'm very curious is like, and I know that happens all the time. Like anytime somebody increases their prices, I imagine Netflix, Hulu, anything. Like
there's
I can imagine
built into it. Yes, they know they're going to lose a certain percentage of people.
Yeah.
So,
but yes. And Lady B makes a good point. It says, as someone who works in marketing / PR, they really should have consulted with an expert on their messaging to readers. Their email needed a lot of work to give answers and comfort to your customers. Exactly. I thought that too when because Mel read me the email last week, and I was like, that's just, they could have done so much more with that. And I get it. And of course, creators and writers and staff should.
And that was my big thing.
More.
That was like,
because we know people who work there. I work for media websites that don't pay much at all. If it, some places I write for, they pay on page views.
Well, and you guys have to do a lot.
You get $1,000. You get $1 for every 1,000 views your article gets in some companies, because that's how they pay for it. So I write for a website like that, but I also write for a website where I get paid hourly. And I've written for websites where I don't get paid anything at all. And it's just, and they're friends of mine, and I wanted to help them out. And I believe in what they're doing. And so it was just kind of a thing for me to do stuff with them. But clearly Mel and I don't make money from this podcast. So obviously there's the ads and things like that. And if people did a super chat, then, that's another thing. But so I get it, believe me. And content creators do not get paid enough. Writers definitely do not get paid enough. So that is not the issue.
And AI
whatsoever.
is encroaching quickly, so it's very important to keep live, human, sentient, thinking critically.
Yeah, we don't have AI reports about Solo's about Sika's death. We don't want that. Like, we want real people. And
real
Dave
artists,
is somebody who
real
has been there, who
creators.
has this like encyclopedic knowledge of this information. So like, and you are paying to access that. Like, that's again not the argument here. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying he's not worth that. That's not the issue here at all.
Certainly not.
Lady Beast. Then my first thought was this email was written by a man.
Agreed. I was very I made it clear in our Discord how I felt. I do not hold back on these things. I don't feel that I need to. Hear it admitted. He even I mean I don't like want to blow up his spot too much, but he went so far as to say, I wish that someone had even talked to me. The dude only runs a social media company. Like, just saying. I mean,
if you have people at your disposal who could help, you could run some things by. Like, you know what? Let me run this by this person who's very familiar with social media. Should I add anything to this?
Yes.
Literally putting in there, this will help your money in part will keep people employed.
Would have made me feel 1,000% better.
A lot of us are employees to someone. And we would have been like, you know what? Thank goodness, especially in a time where media people are getting laid off constantly, or they're getting bought out. And they're like, 2 weeks ago? I think it was. MTV News deleted their entire archive of news that they've had for decades. All of it is gone. These people's work is gone. Then they're owned by the CMT is owned by the same company. They did the same thing to CMT like the week before. So all those people's work is gone. So like it freaked me out, which this keeps happening. This has happened several times this year. So I went and started an Authory account and backed up all of my work. I haven't written for, because I mean, Daily DDT is part of Fansided, but Fansided Direct, I haven't written for in like 4 years, but I went and backed up all my work there. I backed up all my work from Daily DDT, because from Daily DDT alone is nearly 400 articles. Like, I would be pissed if that was gone. And then I had I don't write for SE Scoops anymore, but I had them back up all of that. And it's like all of my work is now backed up, and I have the free thing now. I have no idea how much it's going to cost because they get you in. They're like, here, try it for 7 days. And I was like, I'm gonna, because I'm about to back all this up. So I totally get that as like, so when you have your work disappearing at a moment's notice because some giant company doesn't think it's worth anything anymore, and so media people are getting cut left and right. So yes, I want people to get paid for their work and for their time and all of this. They're severely underpaid. But they could have communicated.
But see, like the very point right there where the person who made the comment about they could have just put in there that it was for if they had just even put a line in there about keeping our content creators, you're totally right. It would have made me feel better. It literally would have. I just sitting here, I'm like, if you would at least said to me that like, this is so we can keep our people on staff and not make the kind of cuts you're seeing somewhere else, I'd have been like, oh, it's a real bummer that the Observer is going up, but I definitely want to see the people that are over there getting their cut and making sure that they're staying on. But this is something that's been in my craw about the Observer for a while. It's like, yeah, okay, all of your arguments are that that's valuable, except that more and more, it's like when we've reached out to Dave, or we've had conversation, or I've like sent emails or whatever. Like, he has no like recognition of our sphere of things. It's like when he talked about Stephanie Vicker even this week with Brian, and he was like, and no one saw that coming. And I'm like, you didn't see that coming. There was a whole group of us who were on the Stephanie Vicker train way before Resurgence came to your town. Mm-hmm. Like, and he has like a blind spot for a lot of that stuff. And the blind spot seems like it's getting bigger. And so I'm like, yes, it is valuable to me for the history stuff. And I really enjoy like the podcasts. But I mean, I can watch We're Live Pal on YouTube. I can watch Jim Valley's Wrestling Observer Live on YouTube on their channels.
Right.
I can listen to Fight Game separately, so I can listen to those guys. I don't want to, like, I don't necessarily feel represented by that site. if I give my $5 a month to Sean Ross Sapp, he already has 3 ladies making content on his network. Right now, like, I mean, how many women, like Lisa comes on Brian and Vinny, which is awesome. I love Lisa. She's the best.
She's great.
But that's
the representation
and Granny. I mean, Granny's a lady, I guess. But like,
yeah. But you aren't represented there, and and I know that you have felt overlooked in the past.
I feel very like you're like, it's like people are always like, oh, Dave hates women and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't believe that Dave hates women, but I just don't, he gives me very much that vibe that I've always gotten, the boys who are like, oh, you're just a girl. You don't know anything about sports. Like, you can't know about this. It's just a vibe.
No, it's
that I get from him.
Yeah. And
I don't think he's a mean person. I don't think that he's a bad person. I don't think it comes from a malicious place. I think that he's a certain age, upbringing, and I know like what age group he's in. So I understand their thought processes.
Well, and we talked about how it's always kind of, for the most part, up until within the last few years or so, I guess maybe decade, it has been an all boys club, and it's been an all white boys club on top of that. Yeah. And so, and I get it. And Lady B, we've had this conversation, and Lady B is right there with us, that this is part of a larger conversation of why it's important in all media, including wrestling media, to have a diverse staff and seats at the time. Been thinking this for a while. 100%. That's a conversation that Mel and I have had. I've had that conversation with other people in the media sphere. So it is a part of a larger conversation, but you're right. And it is. But that, I mean, in a nutshell, if you look at certain content creators or wrestling media, and you see, okay, this company has this many women, this many people of color, this many people in the LGBTQ community. This one has none. Sometimes they do. This one has this, and this, or they only have one, or they have one of these people, but not the other. Like, yeah, so you're going to look at that, especially when it's people like you and I. We are white women, but we are women, and we are cisgender women. And but still, because of people we are friends with, people that are in our lives and our family and that we work with and all this stuff. So like we see it too. But I mean, and sometimes it is just a blind spot that, hey, they don't realize they need this. Like, I've even written for places who they had no intent of not excluding a certain amount of people or certain types of people for writing for them. It was just a blind spot for them. They're like, I never considered that. And then after our conversation, they went and reached out they saw some people that were wanting some new places to write, and they reached out to those people. And now they have more representation, all based on a conversation that I had with them, and they were they're like, I never even looked at it that way. I'm really, and they were like, I'm sorry that I never even thought to think of it this way. And that's a blind spot that I didn't realize I had. And in some cases, that's all it is. Some people are aware of their blind spots and do nothing to change that. So, I mean,
you just nailed it. There's nothing else that can be said on that one.
I'm going to go back to these other comments here, but I have to get to this Lady B comment. This is cracking me up. But this is true. Lady B said, I had this thought with the whole cookout thing that happened over there. Diversity is important to avoid blind spots like that. Well, it was hilarious. Yes, that whole thing with that cracked me up. That was the conversation in multiple Slack channels that I'm in. It was in a humorous way, but yes, it does prove the point that you need diversity, because they did not understand the cookout line from Cody and Carmelo, and they didn't understand that whole segment, and was really funny. But that is a funny way to illustrate this point of why you need diversity. And luckily it was something like that, and not something that was harmful. But yes, that is definitely it.
And I think Garrett tries to bring a little bit of a voice to it, and I think that Brian is becoming more aware, but he also has a pretty big blind spot for it. I think that to some degree they were burned by a lady, and they think that they should never go back. And again, I think that's an age thing. I think that because it's like, well, the last time I tried this, it didn't work out and all this other thing. And it's like, well,
Okay,
that's
well, now
just,
you're-
first of all, that's the wrestling business in general.
Right.
You should know that better than anyone. Second of all, like, not all women, like, fuck off. Just like, I mean, you can't, like, that's even worse because you're essentially lumping us all together, which is essentially like making the point that you have a blind spot for this thing.
Right.
So,
yeah. And you're getting left behind.
And
by
so the
not
combination
having
of the nothing reassuring in the email, feeling a little like left out of the club. I love that I partake of your product regularly, but you kind of can't find time for me ever. And
right.
that
So yeah, on top of I can understand
all
being
those
frustrated
things,
with
like,
the
balled
right.
together.
I was gonna say I could understand why that's a very frustrating thing for multiple levels, and then it all just kind of that email kind of pushed you over put not just you, probably other people just push you over the edge because you're like, these things are not happening. I'm not seeing these things, and now they want me to pay more money, and they're not telling me why.
Right.
And they're not giving me a reason like, hey, more means you'll have access to this, this, and this, or more means that we can pay our staff. Like that,
we're going to make sure that we keep real writers on staff, the people that you like to listen to every single week are still going to get paid. And that's great because I love reading it. Like, I'm not even into UFC, but Ryan Frederick's recaps are great. And I'm glad, like, that's wonderful. He enjoys it. He's like passionate about it. He can break it down for people that aren't as interested. And gives me something. I mean, I end up reading more of it than I used to. That's for sure. Yeah. And I listen more astutely when he's on the show giving the UFC recaps than I used to. But that was like that's a perfect example. You brought in a new voice, a different kind of person, a person from the area that like where a lot of it operates, and he has a ton of knowledge.
Yeah.
That's still a dude, but
right.
We're upgrading.
Right. We're getting there.
And it's a different perspective and
sure.
But I don't know. It's just tricky for me. So I mean, I'm lucky because I have till December to decide what I'm going to do. But if I had been a July subscriber, for me, that would have impacted our financial situation and I might have had to turn it off for a month.
Right. And then on top of that, if you are a monthly subscriber and you are turning it off for July, what's going to make you turn it back on in August? Are you going to tell me what that more is for? Or am I going to have to skip August too? Because I still don't know what this money goes to. Which again, Lady B does say that Brian did kind of clarify some of that stuff. So hopefully that information has gotten out to these people who have temporarily or maybe permanently canceled their subscriptions. And then hopefully that information gets to them. But that's
I don't think the guy that owns, to some degree, the impression that I get, I guess, from my experiences, I don't think the guy that owns the Observer gives a crap. Like,
probably doesn't. He just wants the subscribers.
He wants the money, and he is like, he's very well aware of the ownership of Dave's name and the Observer.
And again, he thinks that name is enough to sell subscriptions. And for a lot of people, it probably is.
It is. It definitely is.
Even for Brian Alvarez, for that matter, that's probably somebody, hey, I like his stuff. I'm going to subscribe for him. Sure. And some people, and that for a lot of people, that is that, but sometimes that's getting them in the door. What are you doing to keep them there?
Yep.
Why are you doing that? And so Lauren says that Fightful is great. Sean does a great job with representation as far as women and people of color. And Lady B points out that when Lisa's on the show, the comment section is really icky about her.
I'm sure.
I can only imagine.
And because she's worked in the business for so long, she knows that this is the way that things kind of go. So she probably goes along as much as, I mean, I know how that works.
She shouldn't have to,
yeah,
but I understand that. Like, well, that's what.
But
like, I don't read.
I
don't read the comment section of any article that I write.
Like you and I talked about this last week. But that feels like, well, we have our token woman that comes on, we trust.
It's our checklist
in the business.
It's just like the rest. It's just like
love
have their checklist.
Lisa.
Do we have a women's match? Let's check this off. Do I have a woman's voice on this particular show? Check. I'll bring her back in 3 months.
Right. And we have this goes all the way back to the Hall of Fame discussion and even Lisa called Garrett out on the fact that it was like 5 dudes talking about the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I love some of the people on that panel. They've been very kind to me, and I respect them a great deal and their experience and their knowledge.
You can still do all of that things and still have room for improvement.
But even they acknowledged that. Even one of them acknowledged to me privately that they kind of agreed with what I was saying about it. So, but it's not. I mean, it's not up to a guest to make that decision. It's up to the people that are doing the production side of things.
Right.
And
sure.
I don't know. It's tricky. I'm in a quandary now. So tick till December where I have to. And I mean, and I told people flat out, I mean, the hard out for me is what my bank account tells me in December.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what's going to happen between then and now. We could have great, it could be great or life, which has happened a lot and everything is more expensive. So life.
Right. Life and life comes second, especially like when there's things that come up. Like I can't tell you how many times I was going to get something. Like I even joked about it when we had Lo on a couple of weeks ago. I was talking about how like I wanted to do her last customs back in the winter, and then my car was like, "Oh no, you don't.
Nope, sorry."
So
no disposable anymore.
Yeah, they're like, and so I finally got it in. I finally got it in the last go around. But like real life happens, and they know that. And like, of course, we're not saying that that's not a reason not to do certain things, but there are reasons, and everybody has reasons why they can't do something. And
the rollout rubbed me wrong. It
would have rubbed. If I were a subscriber, I would have been rubbed the wrong way.
I did not feel like they gave a crap about my subscribing or not. Which
right.
Again, I've already had something in my craw about it, so I'm gonna have to see what happens. But
well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because based on what you're telling me, you're not the only one. I mean, like you said, there's somebody in Discord who's already had to cancel. I'm sure there are plenty of people who had to, and I know they were expecting some of that, because that's just natural when you have price increases. But it's the way it was rolled out. Like Lady B says, you could tell a man wrote it. They didn't tell you enough sufficient information. They didn't tell you where your money was. And more can mean anything, more directly into your pocket and not your writer's pocket. No, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but when you read that,
I don't know.
Well, if any company, especially if it's like a big company, like if a big company told me that and then didn't tell me what the more was for, I'm like, is that going in your pocket? And I'm not accusing them of that. That's not what I'm saying. But it just to read that, like, that's kind of where your mind goes is, well, what is the and more? What am I paying? Like, what am I paying for?
And there's sort of like one last little irksome thing to me is that regardless of whether you're on your phone or on your computer or whatever else, there's still a lot of flash all over the site.
Yeah, you were telling me about
that. So
on
on top of me being a subscriber, there shouldn't be this much ad flash on my subscription.
Yeah.
Like,
if you're
usually the draw of subscribing to something is so that you cannot have ads or limited, like Peacock has the tiers where you get ads, limited ads, no ads.
Even like I think Netflix has the same thing.
Amazon has that.
Amazon has it. Spotify has it. Like if you don't want to listen to ads and you don't want to listen on shuffle, then you pay for it.
So
and then Twitter keeps trying to get me to subscribe to every time I report an ad or hide an ad or say I don't want to see it. It was like, do you want to subscribe? No, I do not. You're not taking. I already should not be on this hell site anyway, but here I am all the time, but I'm sure not paying for it.
I mean, making the Observer into a PDF, downloadable PDF was super helpful, but it's not worth $5 extra a month. Like,
seriously. That should be an add-on option. Not a
but I mean, that was something they've done over the last few months as something that was really nice, where it was like, hey, we just made the Observer, like finally we made a PDF version where you can download it to your Kindle or whatever, which is great. It's super more convenient than trying to read it but I'm such a nerd. Some people print it out, which I totally get. I don't like it on there because it's formatted like the actual paper Observer.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to read the text anyway.
Well, everybody has their preferences, but so that's totally understandable.
That was I had beef with that, and like it took us all this. Like, this was the hour I didn't want to tack on to last week's already 3-hour long episode.
Oh, thank you so much, Lady B.
Oh my gosh, Holy
Thank you.
cow! What? Oh, that's so
That's
nice.
our first. You're our first one, Lady B. Thank you.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Holy
Thank you. So Lady B is a first-time viewer and love the perspective. You have a new subscriber and follower in me, and take my money.
Oh my
Thank
gosh!
you.
Thank
That was
you
not a whole
so
spiel for us to get money. So,
much. That is
but thank
so
you.
nice.
Truly, we appreciate that, and it is a. We understand. We understand both sides as both
That's
consumers
amazing.
and as
Thank
people who
you.
create things. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Truly.
Thank you for your
Thank you very much.
chats and your. That's amazing. Thank you. So sweet.
Miguel says Lady B rocks. Well, we
He does
see.
rock. I'm so glad that new people came today. That's
Yeah, and we're
lovely.
having a great conversation with her, and I've really enjoyed what we've been, and everybody in the chat. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I
And,
knew
and even
everyone would
again, if
wanna
you are
talk about
watching and
this one.
not in the chat, we appreciate your views too. That it helps us whether you're in the chat or not. So it really, thank you.
It does.
Lady B,
That's
thank
amazing.
you. That lady support. Yes, thank you.
That's
Truly.
amazing. Because
Appreciate
that's I can buy a hat.
Yes, we joke that because Mel, since you are new here, Mel's gimmick is that she started wearing a hat and now it's become a thing. So she's got to find new hats, and she's had to repeat a few because she ran out of hats.
Listen,
And
again,
so
this is disposable
we joke that
income
this will go
here.
to her hat fund.
Actually, Bob had a good idea this morning though. Was to over at the brewery, put because I was like, I should go on eBay and buy lots or something, like, and it was like going back to the old school eBay roots, and where you're
Right.
buying lots of things that you like. And
You should.
he was like,
There you go.
he was like, why don't we just put a box at the brewery and have Daryl make a poster for it? And he's like, contribute to Mel's Powerbombshells, because Daryl is super, super, super supportive of the podcast.
Please donate your unwanted hats to Mel's
podcast. That's why I had their poster up
gimmick.
behind me for their 5th anniversary. That's Starcraft Brewery in Richmond, Michigan. They are amazeballs. But
That's
he
awesome.
is like, he helped. We're going to be having a guest on coming up, and Daryl was a little bit of a part of that. And hashtag hat fun. Thank you. That is so beautiful. It's so cool. I'm so excited that someone new came along. Like,
me too.
What a nice thing. I'm very grateful for you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Truly. And I knew you guys would want to talk about this. That was why I didn't want to tack that on at the end.
Yeah, we almost talked about it last week, but Mel was like, I want to give it time. I wanted to
listen to my regular podcast that I listened to and see if they had covered it. I didn't listen to the Observer Lives because I couldn't. Again, I enjoy the people on our network, and I like Mike and JD, so I try and get those people in too during the week. So, my prioritizing is difficult.
There's a lot of content out there.
I've got Kaito Kiyomiya and Gabe Kidd queued up and ready to go, and I just need to watch the dang match.
Well, that's like us last week. We Nikki and I were trying to figure out. We were like, I was like, we have to. I had to watch Revolver because I had to figure out why Ace Austin was champion when he was not in the match. And so like, I was like, we have to watch this. And we did. But yes, we're always like, we got 3 episodes into the new season of The Bear, but we're behind on other stuff.
Don't tell me. I haven't started.
I won't. No, but we started it right at midnight and got 3 episodes in, and we stopped it, but we haven't had a chance to pick it up since then. And we're behind on other things. And then wrestling is happening. And then G1 is coming up in a few weeks, and
I had to catch up on my Noah shows, and then I had to finish my Geddy Lee's biography because it was due back Friday. So, and I was really close to the end. So, I was late by a day. I owed a quarter. Holy crap! I had to pay a whole quarter for my fantastically wonderful library.
Good.
As
we mentioned on last week's show, try to support your libraries if you can.
Yes, because they have tons of things.
Yes, go use it.
It's free. And we don't want them to go away, just like we don't want real writers and artists to go away. It's also libraries and real people are very important.
Yeah, they are.
I don't let the robots take over people.
Please don't.
Don't. I hate no robots.
No robots. None of that. Because then if you already think that you're not being represented now.
Yeah, right.
When the robots take over.
The robots are so stupid.
Either.
The robots are doing the scheduling for Bob's company right now, and they don't understand how people work.
Because they're not robots.
People are
robots. Don't understand that human workers are not robots.
Are not robots. No Terminator future.
Right. So I guess we should get to what people
the
came.
cards.
I mean, some people may have maybe they saw the Wrestling Observer in the title and were like, "I'm coming for this. We don't care about the PrePre show."
Like, when Mel has beef. I mean, if they were in the Discord, they knew I had beef. So
yeah. So, but we will get to why most people are probably here and watching this today. We are here for our PrePre show, which will be I was thinking about that today. This will be our last PrePre show until All In. Like, we have like 8 weeks with no PrePre show. We've got no, we probably won't. I was gonna say there's Death Before Dishonor, but we won't do a PrePre show for that. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Or at least I will. Another thing I got caught up on. I finally got caught up on ROH. I had been behind, that's the first time that's happened. I've been behind like an episode here and there. I was behind 5 episodes. I watched 3 in one night, and then on Thursday I watched the prior week's episode, which was the nice episode, and then I got caught up to episode 70. So I'm all caught up on that, and then I still have. Now I think I have like 8 episodes of TNA sitting on my on my DVR. But that's mainly for the women's matches stuff. Yeah. And then I will probably watch the Broken Matt stuff just because I love Broken Matt. I love Matt Hardy in general, obviously being from North Carolina. If you've watched the show any amount of time, you know that my sister and I are huge Hardy Boys fans, and we grew up Hardy Boys fans. And so we love them. And I really I've always loved the Broken Matt stuff. And considering everything, TNA is kind of, they started off the year really, really hot and then just have fizzled. But I have heard that they have been doing really well with their tapings. If you follow Mike Gilbert, then you have probably seen that they sold out Friday night show. I think they sold out last night's show. Slammiversary did, like, it's coming up soon, but it sold like a bunch of tickets and when it first went on. So there are some positives there. And so hopefully they get it straightened out, because as we always say, more wrestling companies, the better, because we want people to have jobs. And all formats, not just wrestling, but there's so much that goes into that. So we hope that TNA can turn it around and give me reasons to keep watching, because it's hard when a bunch of my favorites are gone. But there are still people there I love, like Mustafa is there. Jeff Hardy is back. They're doing that whole thing again. So there's some good stuff over there. And they've got their stuff with TNA. I mean, with the WWE or NXT that could be really cool. I saw some stuff Friday night when I was covering SmackDown, and I ended up, because I was the one who sent the tweets, I ended up writing about it. But they had 3 NXT wrestlers showed up at their tapings Friday night. So I got to write about some of that, and those will be coming. So they do have some cool stuff. So eventually,
that's right. They're doing crossover stuff with WWE right now.
Yeah, it's been NXT. NXT has sent. Yeah, or Jordan Grace has been over in NXT a couple times. Kaz has been there. Obviously Joe Hendry was there, and then he got eliminated in like a minute. Yeah. But it sounds like they're not done with him, especially because like he had like the most viewed video since WrestleMania on their YouTube and social medias, which is incredible, because that's so, like, I've long believed in Joe Hendry.
I say his name and he appears, man.
One day he will appear. We're hoping. We keep saying he appears, and then he has not yet appeared on our podcast. However, I saw Matt Hardy it was a clip from his podcast, and he said that his Matt, because he does a weekly Matt fact, like one of his old characters, and he said his Matt fact was that he believed in Joe Hendry. And then they took the screen down, and Joe Hendry was there because they were interviewing him.
That's fantastic.
Which I think is really great.
That'll never get old. It's like Rusev.
Not for me. I know some people are over it, but I love it.
I am so not over it. I am right in the thick of it. I love it. I think it's the greatest thing ever. I think it's mad really cool about like when I heard that they kind of like geeked him out. I was a little bit mad at them, so I was glad I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either, because I wasn't thinking. I knew they were doing a battle royal, and then I should have watched it because Javon Evans ended up winning, which Javon is the former Jay Malachi, who I used to watch here locally. And so Javon, Javon's number 1 contender for their NXT championship. Like, they are really getting behind. He's been so impressive, and they are really getting behind him, which is really cool to see. Because he's phenomenal, and I can't say enough good things about him. So Oh, Lady B says, before she goes to brunch, what Discord should she be joining? Get your plugs in. So I'll let you answer that.
Okay, so if you want to join the Discord, just go ahead and shoot an email, and it's gg@fightgamemedia.com. And just let him know that you were on our show and like you've heard about the Discord and you'd like an invite, and that's how you get in there. And we're at Powerbombshells on Instagram and the X, the Tweeter. I'm going to call it Twitter. I'm calling it Twitter forever.
It's Twitter forever.
It will always be Twitter,
like
just to piss off Elon. I will call it Twitter forever.
Like they try to get us to call him Shorty G. That's not happening.
Never going to happen. That never happened. But
so it's always Twitter.
but just because we try to, it's an upbeat, fun community, and we try to keep it light and not full of drama. So we ask that people just email Garrett and just let him know that you talked to us and you were our first super chatter, and we appreciate it.
We do. Thank you.
You're totally cool. We love you. Let you in, and you can come hang out and talk to.
Just and the Bray Wyatt says, "Let me in."
We have all.
That's all you have to do.
About our Discord too is we don't we have the wrestling stuff, but we talk about other stuff too. Like our whole book channel is like so much fun. Like Dazzle will attest. It's just
thank you, Jeremy.
Jeremy, rocking it. GG@fightgamemedia.com.
There you go. And that goes for anybody who's in here. If you want to join the Discord, just go through that. Tell me you heard about it on Powerbombshells. Unless you're a troll, then don't do that.
If you're a troll, we're really good about moderating it. And I think everyone in there respects the space. So we try to keep it it's our community. So we try to respect it and treat it with dignity. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So
maybe one of these days I'll join Discord. Again, everything else I'm backed up on. Everything else I'm backed up on.
I think it's hilarious. One of my favorite things was hearing Garrett say in a conversation that he was down to like 3 apps that were must-have apps, and Discord was one of them. I'm like,
so you converted him.
See, I just needed to say it in a boy's voice. No, he gave me my props eventually.
Well, I'm glad that he did.
He did. He acknowledged me a few times.
Good.
It's funny.
He acknowledged you raised your finger.
It was exactly. But
I want to go to this comment here. A USBA guy said he was going to get you some New Japan New Era hats.
I saw that, and that's dope. I'm totally into that. Yeah,
we'll give you a PO box. I have one. Except for it wouldn't get to Mel though, so. Or I would have to ship it to Mel.
But we'll talk.
Guess that idea won't work. Never mind.
You never know. We'll see. We'll see what goes on.
Okay, now we will actually get to why.
Let's go.
Let's get to the Forbidden Door card. We're just gonna pop up matches as Mel did go by the Bleacher Report card and prediction of how the matches will go. Clearly, we the only match we know for sure is that the main event is Swerve versus Ospreay.
Yes, that I have in the thing.
I think this is actually a question for you. It says Sam, is that a Mass Effect hat? But I don't have a hat, so I think he means you. I don't know.
Yes, it is a Mass Effect hat. Nicely done. It sure is. It's still got the tag on it and everything.
Oh, sweet.
Very nice. Yes, I knew we were wondering if some nerd in the comments would get the reference. So yes, indeed. Yep. Mass Effect 3 is what got me podcasting back in 2012. So you're welcome. That it being a shitburger was what got me. Well, I love Mass Effect. The third game when it came out and EA took over, was what got me on a podcast, and the rest is history. So this is a total not. This right here is what got me into this thing.
Yeah, I think that Jeremy is probably right here that he bets almost anything MJF versus Hechicero opens the show.
It would be smart to do that.
Main event stars want to be first or last on the pay-per-views. And since he has no title, then you're probably right.
That's actually that's a hot match to start with.
Hechicero was over as hell. I don't
well, and MJF's gonna have to
talking about him.
He's gonna have to wrestle, which he can do.
Which we know he can do. But this will be his first, this is his first pay-per-view since World's End.
He's been hurt
in December. Yeah, this is his first And he's had is it 2 matches he's had since he's been back, or just the one against Roosh? Is it just the match against Roosh, or did he have? No, I think I'm thinking of Hechicero.
No, he had a Saturday night match on Collision because he made a Collision debut, right? Or did he just show up?
I was watching.
I think the Roosh one.
Know.
Okay, I don't know.
The Roosh match is the only one, right? Or am I just blocking that match out? Jeremy said that MJF has buried the fucking match like a weirdo.
He did. I didn't get either.
I don't understand either. Hechicero rules, and I need him to. I know it's probably just. I can't tell if it's a heel thing or if he just does not know how to pronounce Hechicero's name because he pronounces it. He pronounces the H in there, and I can't tell if it's because he's trying to be a douchey heel by mispronouncing the foreigner's name wrong, or if he just doesn't know how to pronounce it. I can't tell what's happening here. I was like, MJF's not a dumb guy, so I assume it's the lazy heel tactic of not knowing how to pronounce my opponent's name, especially because they're from a different place. Nikki and I talked about this too, that I thought it would be the Elite because Young Buck often kick off pay-per-views, but they might be second. Yeah, they can sometimes they're second or third, but there's 9 million trios matches, it seems like, so they might space it out a little bit. We saw that, Hassan, or we were actually talking about that because I saw the video but couldn't listen about Ospreay posting about his Nana pass, and I hate that for him. That sucks anytime, but especially when you've got something
goes out to that guy.
Big. He's got his first pay-per-view main event match, and that's in the US, or with AEW, so that's even tougher to have to deal with. So yeah, I hate that for him. Miguel says that Roosh was the one match since he's been back. I'm almost certain of it. That's what I thought because Hechicero has had a couple of, obviously he's had several matches. He even wrestled last night. He wrestled Kevin Blackwood, right? Which was really cool to see.
That is cool.
Yeah. And Jeremy said, it was supposed to be Roosh at the pay-per-view, but CMLL shut that shit down. Well, if it's for the reasons that I think that it might be, then I'm glad that they did. If that's the reason. Reason.
A lot of people don't know about his supporting of Stephanie's abuser.
Yeah, yeah. So we talked about this a few weeks ago, but Stephanie Vacker has someone who her previous boyfriend, who is also a wrestler in CMLL, he choked her. She pressed charges. He's still in jail. Roosh and Joe Lisico are a couple of the wrestlers who publicly supported him last year and encouraged others to go. There's something that was happening I guess they were wanting more supporters to come out to publicly support him at the courthouse or wherever it was. And they publicly posted it on their social media, got called out for it, deleted it. And he is still there was an update about him like 2 weeks ago. He's still in jail. He is still a threat they believe that he is still a threat to her. So for that reason, it is believed that they are trying to keep Roosh and Stephanie separated. Typically, if one is on the show, the other is not. There's some pre-tape stuff. There was a segment last night with Roosh backstage, but it appears to be a pre-tape, but Stephanie wrestled on the show last night. It was obviously from Dynamite. So that we believe that is the reason, but it has not been confirmed that that's the reason. But
and I'd like to hope a little bit that that's the reason, because
I would hope that they at the very least. Yeah, we were very concerned because it did seem like they were promoting that match for Forbidden Door, and we were very concerned about that. And then, Hassan clarified it a little bit better that they were organizing some kind of a protest, and Roosh and Dralisico were supporting that and advertised that. And it was, but they were publicly supporting her abuser. So Jeremy said, damn, I just figured it was the AAA Association. That was the original guess, but because they did not specifically say that AAA was the reason, I think that's probably, I was gonna say that's probably the advertised reason.
Yeah.
But because Mel and I were very concerned when I brought it to Mel's attention that when they were promoting this, that we were like, I hope at the very least that like Rocky has talked to her and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. Are you cool with it? Like, are you comfortable being in the same building with him, type of thing? Hopefully that conversation took place. We don't know. And then that match was moved to Dynamite, so that was kind of some of the people who are familiar with the situation with Stephanie and with Rush and Jalisco. That was the hope, was maybe that was why. We've never heard one way or another if that's correct, but that was just our assumption. And hopefully, with Stephanie having probably the biggest match of her career tonight, she doesn't need to worry about that as well. And hopefully she feels supported regardless. And hopefully moving forward, they'll do what's best for her and keep her, like, obviously, I understand. Clearly, you don't want Rush is obviously a big star and he's a really good wrestler, but you don't want to possibly put somebody who supports your abuser. I'm sure you don't want to share a space with. I'm sure, and especially, again, like I said, on probably one of the biggest nights of your career. Yeah. That's kind of what I felt that way too. USVA guys, is the issues that nobody did their due diligence. Rocky, Tony, and others dropped the ball until the fandom spoke up. Well, thank God they did. But that's not the first time the fandom has had to speak up. We've talked about this a lot.
That's that blind spot we were talking about.
It is that blind spot we were talking about. It goes to show, like, Rocky booked Marty Skrull on the Strong
Dave
shows.
Meltzer, Stephanie Baker just suddenly appeared last year at Resurgence for the first time, and nobody knew who she was. And I'm like, bro, we've been watching her on shows all over the place. Some of us have. I'm glad you were blown away at the show. That's awesome. I'm glad you're aware of her now. But it's she came out of nowhere, and it's not exactly.
Well, I mean, there is a lot of wrestling out there, so I will give him some of that.
He covers a lot of wrestling.
That's true. So that is also fair. Yeah, and we've heard the same things too. The CMLL is the relationship, so I think that's the on paper reason.
I mean, that's the easiest.
And I do think that is probably a
better PR.
Yeah, so I do feel like a lot of it is that, and I'm sure that does play a factor. But it feels like the stuff with Stephanie is also, but again, until the fandom spoke up and brought it up, that we're like, don't do this. The same thing with don't put Marty Skrull on your Strong shows, please. We don't want to see that. Please take them off. And I just saw last night that they're bringing back I think they're bringing back a World of Sport, and they've involved Shaw Samuels, who got blackballed in the UK scene for intentionally harming a referee to the point that the guy had to retire unexpectedly because of this guy's actions. And he's been blackballed everywhere. And then World of Sports has booked him for their first set of tapings.
World of Sport will fail again, though. They've tried to bring it back so many times. They've tried to bring it back so many times. And it's never
they're
really
doing it on the internet and stuff because of the AEW deal on.
They just can't. Rev Pro is awesome, and there's other OTT does a lot of good work over in Ireland. So, and I'm pretty sure the continent still has some wrestling.
Yeah,
but I don't. They can't. That was a magical time. And it's not something that can be duplicated because times are different. Sure. People are different. Wrestling is different. Everything about the World of Sport, the one that's in book, the wrestling that they talk about. That time was very, very specific to its time. Just like 70s wrestling or 80s wrestling here in North America.
Well, that's like Jim Crockett is obviously
or 90s women's wrestling in Japan.
Right.
That was a thing it's still obviously women's wrestling but that was a huge time. Sure. Some of the biggest names ever, Aja Kong and Minami Toyota, and
right,
you've got all these famous people, and so but you couldn't bring that back. You couldn't start
not in the same way. It won't
not
be
in this. It would have to be different. It would have to be entirely different.
Yeah.
And they've tried resurrecting World of Sport a couple times, and it's been pretty much
there was
failure,
something. It was somebody sent us select last night, and that's how I saw it. And I saw Shaw Samuel's name, and I was like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Why does that name stand out? What did he did something shady? What was it? And we were all trying. And then somebody found an article, and they were like, it was this, and it was because he decided that he was gonna and the match. So he went after this referee in a tag match. I didn't realize it until last night. The tag match was against Aussie Open. That was the Aussie Open one, but it was the referee was harmed by their opponents in that match, and the referee,
he had That
Yeah,
kind of goes
he's like-
against like the like basic tenets of like taking care
It
of each
wasn't-
other.
right. Yeah, especially a referee who
isn't a talent per se.
Right.
Like they're
right
not
who doesn't
in
have
the
the same
ring.
generally doesn't have the same type
You
of
shouldn't be
training
doing that
you do.
anyway. That's bad.
No.
That's
Yeah, so I
bad
saw
form.
that and I was like, okay, well,
No. Downvote. 0 stars. Would not recommend.
no. We will recommend getting to this damn card.
Yes, we're gonna get to the card. We promise. I'm just gonna pop up a thingy so that
That's
we
fine.
can talk about it.
Let's go.
So let's
All
hit
right,
0
start off with the
hour. So
women's match.
I put the 0 hour first anyway. So
There we go. Can we move that banner?
oh yeah. No.
I mean, you don't have to. You can see my eyes and Mel's hat. That's fine if you would prefer. I mean, because clearly the graphic is the most important.
No, the
thing.
banner is stuck there forever.
So the 0 hour may or may not be kicking off with this match, but that's what we're talking about. So we have Willow Nightingale and Tam Nakano are taking on Chris Statlander and Momo Watanabe. I've seen both of them before. They're both Momo. I was really impressed with. I think she gets forgotten a lot in that match from Battle of the, or not the match, but the tournament from Battle of the Valley, which was to be the original one to name. No, wait a minute, wrong Momo. Never mind. Just kidding. That's Momo Kogo. I saw Momo and my brain went to Kogo instead of her. So never mind.
That's okay. Dave did the same thing on Observer.
My brain completely. I
Dave
heard.
did the same
I
thing
saw
on Friday
just
with
now.
Garrett. He did the
I even
exact
knew
same
prior
thing.
that it
That's
wasn't
funny.
the same one, but my brain was like Momo, and that's where my brain went. So no, that is incorrect. I
That's
take that
funny
back.
because Dave did the exact same thing with Garrett this weekend. So on
my
Friday,
brain went
That's
right to
pretty
that.
funny.
I apologize.
It's
not-
okay. It's, yeah.
Not trying to confuse the two. But my brain was like, hey. But yeah, so obviously we have the storyline going on with Willow and Chris. They have both moved on to the next round of the Owen Hart Cup tournament, so they are in the next, they will be facing each other next. But before then, I believe the video was Stoke suggested this match.
Ah.
So this is why, and Chris was like, yes, let's do that. And so this match I think will be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for obviously just anytime I get to watch Willow is a treat.
It's gonna be a good match.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people love Tam, and like, yeah, even Brad says that, yes, for sure. Brad said this is one of the matches Kathy is most excited about, along with Tony versus Mina. She's rocking her Stardom shirt for the show tonight. I'm sure she's gonna have a blast. I know she loves Stardom.
Oh man!
So much,
Oh my
man.
God! Yeah,
tonight
she's
is probably
gonna
like
get
a
to
dream
see all
come
these
true for
people
her.
live. Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be so cute for
She's
her.
gonna
I'm so
love it.
excited for you guys.
We will
That's
be living
so
vicariously
dope.
through Kathy this evening.
Oh, I just love. I really enjoy hearing like when you guys bring your kids too. Like it's not just for us. I like hearing what the kids think too. I love hearing like when JD talks about it or when Brad talks about it. It's just awesome. Hey David.
Yeah.
Welcome.
It is. But yeah, so this match should be fun. Do you have predictions on, and fast and quick hit and hard hitting? I believe all of those things. Do you have predictions on who will win this one?
I think Willow pisses Chris off and takes this one.
Yeah, I kind of think I feel
like
yeah, this one I can't tell because I feel like
because it go either way. It really could go either way.
I think it also depends because
story.
I also can't tell who is gonna win their match separately. Like, there's reasons for both Willow and Chris, and then this doesn't necessarily mean that whoever wins tonight will not win on Wednesday. We know that's some predictable booking that some companies do, but that doesn't necessarily mean. But
one of them cost the other one the match in some way.
Yeah, I feel like one of the Stardom girls is probably going to be the one to get pinned, unfortunately.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I don't think it will be. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Chris and Momo that they're going to win.
All right, cool. I'm going to pick Willow just because you picked Chris, and that'll be fun.
Either way, the fans win because this is going
to be fun.
Awesome. Yeah,
it's a good match. All right, let's see. What do we got here for the next one? Pop this up here.
This match, I'm so excited for.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, this match is full of people that I love.
Yeah.
So it's Tsuji, Teton, and Hiramu, who I love all of them. on the other side, Lucha Brothers, who I love, and Mystico, who is amazing, who Haramu also loves. Because if you saw his promo last night on Collision, he is so excited that they brought Mystico in for him to be in this match. And I can't, oh God, talk about a fast-paced match. This match
is going to be another one. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, we win.
This is great. You know what
We
this
win.
reminds
I don't
me
even
of
know
a
who-
little? I feel like some of these undercard matches are more. It's they're running the show a little bit more like the Japanese show, where they have like the big undercard, sort of like bigger,
right,
where you're getting maybe previews of future singles matches, and also like what they do in the G1, where you literally are getting previews of future matches. Like I like the setup of 0 Hour with some of these, and those are all these. Because there's no way these guys aren't going to be like going about 1,000,000 miles an hour.
This match is going to be insane. Like, just look at who's in it. Like,
Tsuji is ginormous.
And he hits hard. Teton is incredible.
Awesome.
Obviously, Haramu, we love Haramu here in this house, and I believe in Mel's house as well.
Oh, Haramu love is
and
real.
then like I'm just a huge fan of everybody involved. And then like the Lucha Brothers always show out all the time, but really in pay-per-views. And I think in this situation, when they're working with somebody like Mystico, I think they're really going to show up, and it's going to be amazing. And Miguel says that most excited for this match than any other on the card. True representation of what Forbidden Door should be. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah, because that's like the whole thing right there. It's everyone.
Exactly. And
it's
then
literally everyone from everywhere. It's awesome.
And Miguel says Mystico just wrestled Haramu at Arena Mexico, so they may play off of that.
Cool.
You know what? Now that I have not seen it, but I think I do remember seeing something about that. So yes. And he says that he prays that sets up Lucha Brother versus Teton and Haramu for a tag team match. Please, wrestling goddesses.
Well,
if you are listening,
Mania coming up,
please. No, Fantastic Mania just happened, right?
Just happened. Okay.
Wait, isn't that what just happened? Or is there something else? There's something happening. They did some shows last weekend, but no, I think because it's on Nikki's birthday. So there is some Fantastic Mania matches coming up. That's right. Okay. Yes.
So
but
maybe
there's a lot going on. Yes, because also in this weekend was one of the big shows in Arena Mexico, and Kyle Fletcher put his ROH TV title on against Atlantis Jr. and Atlantis won. And so we have a brand new TV champion with Death Before Dishonor a month away.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and the kind of goes back, because it's funny because I on the media call this week, so on that night's episode of Honor Club was Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher, but for the ROH World Championship. So I was like, why is this match not happening at Death Before Dishonor? And he's like, oh, they're both busy guys. They wrestle internationally. Kyle wrestles internationally with that title, but so I guess, but still, it was for the TV title. I mean, that match was for the world title, not the TV title. But yes, so a couple of people think that maybe it's going to set up a rematch at Ring of Honor, and that Atlantis is going to come in for that. But yeah, it was just unexpected. And then Chris Jericho showed up. He attacked Mystico after the match, and he pulled off his mask. And apparently, from what a lot of people were saying, like CMLL has been wanting Jericho for a while, and the fans down there have been wanting Jericho for a while, which
right on.
I think Jericho should just do an excursion down there and stay in Mexico.
That'd be great. I would love that
a little bit.
He can go down there and be like, hey guys,
bring the learning tree down there.
Mm-hmm. They need learning. Everyone needs the learning trees.
Just bring it down there. See how that works out for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Miguel.
Okay, yes, that they just had a Fantastic Mania.
Okay,
so what is that? Like, that's on the.
I know someone was talking about it that I was listening.
There's something that's happening July 13th though, and the only reason I remember that is because it's Nikki's birthday, and I think isn't that the show that has on the 13th? Isn't that the show that has Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hechicero 1-on-1? I think.
Oh, well, I don't know, but I want to watch that.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Did y'all see the second rope Canadian Destroyer that Atlantis Jr. hit Fletcher with? Yes. It was in my timeline. If y'all have been here for 2 seconds, y'all know I love a Canadian Destroyer. I literally had a shirt made.
Sam is the
that said, I have a shirt that says "Bad Bitches for Canadian Destroyers." That's how much I
I
love them.
should have a bad bitches for suplexes one.
There you go. You need
It's really nothing like just a good hard that's why one of these matches
that's like us.
here.
That's like me and you with our Okada drop. Like me and Mel love the Okada drop kick.
It's
His
because
drop kick is so
simplest.
precise and just
he could literally hit like a pin head.
He can. And then it's funny because we talk about how like Shibata's is just so wild and he just like it's so explosive where his is just pinpoint and I love Shibata's, but Okada's drop kick is just
it's such a basic move, but he always uses it. It's just like it's his timing with it, how he uses it, is how precise he is when he hits it. I mean, those are the kinds of things that really underscore why Okada is the best.
So Mel and Sam for Okada's drop kick.
For Okada, bad bitches for Okada.
I am getting educated over here about shows. So that was last week that they did the Sabre and Hechicero was on June 22nd. Why did I think that was the 13th? I don't know. And July 13th is in San Jose.
Okay. And that's the show that I think you guys are going to again, right? I think that'll be Resurgence, right?
No,
July 13th.
Didn't Resurgence already happen? Yes, that was the last.
Yes, you're right. Okay, so the next one coming up, I think, is Capital Collision.
I knew.
Oh, there we go.
I knew there was some Fantastica Mania.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Okay, so they're doing July 13th episode of Fantastica Mania in San Jose at Garrett's old high school gym.
That's right. I remember
and
them
Jeremy
talking
confirms,
about this. We were talking about this. That's okay.
See,
he hasn't been to that building since like forever.
Yes. Okay. See, I knew I wasn't completely crazy. I thought, yes. Okay. It's a couple blocks from Jeremy's house. So he's going to be like the Young Bucks when they go into the Kia Forum.
Yeah, right.
Wait, is it the Kia Forum? No, which
that's
one
in
is
LA?
No, which one is their arena? There's one arena that's like real close to them, and they always talk about how like it's just down the block from our house. I can't remember. I was thinking it was Kia, but no, they're in. Is it the Kia Forum?
From Rancho
one of them somewhere. No. Oh, Palm Springs now.
Fancy. Oh well, fancy pansies.
Ontario was the arena. Okay. Yeah, that's not like, wait a minute, that's not right because they're not in LA. So I was like, that's not it.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, I switched.
Now that we've got that all straightened out, we'll move on to the next Owen Hart Cup quarterfinal match. We have Mariah May with Saraya. It appears that their people will be with both of them because this graphic shows Toni Storm and Luther.
All of their people.
So I guess Toni Storm will be out there, even though she's got a match later on. And then Harley Cameron will be out there with Saraya. And this is
I kind of like more than Saraya right now. But whatever,
for a number of reasons. I don't care.
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know. Harley's more compelling to me, but whatever.
She's very entertaining.
This will be a really good match Mariah May is a great wrestler. She does a great job.
She's so good. Well, and then there's the whole story of Saraya being like one of her idols that she grew up watching, and then she met Toni, and now Toni is her idol.
Well, I hope Saraya is prepared for some some strong style because Mariah May can bring it. Like
she can, and she will.
She may look like a little cute, like wannabe Toni Storm, but
Tiny Storm, as they call her.
It's Tiny Storm. That's cute.
Tiny Storm is what.
That's funny. I can't believe I never picked up on it. Yeah.
Yes. Saraya and Harley call her Tiny Storm. Yes, I think Mariah May takes this because obviously it's leading towards the setup.
The story.
Wembley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The story is getting towards its climax, I think. I do think. Yes. I believe that Mariah May takes this match. And I believe she worked it very hard.
I think that we already said it like as soon as she was announced, but pretty much I'm like convinced that Mariah May is winning the Owen.
Me too.
So
I am too. Yes. So this is just the first stop on her way to winning.
On her way to Toni.
And getting her match at Wembley.
She'll get a shot at Toni if Toni, continues it as it would seem at All In. So
yes.
All In.
We have a funny story over here from Jeremy who says Funny story about the Bucks at Resurgence and Resurgence. I was down in Palm Springs that weekend and had debated about going to the show. After it went late and I went to bed, I found out that the Bucks drove the difference. And he said, screw that. That was a bummer drive at midnight. Fair enough. That's yeah.
There's long stretches of people, and just like anywhere, there's long stretches of nothing when you drive to highways out there. So it's just desert or whatever. It's not so. I mean, depending on where you are, mountains, desert.
Yeah,
cute. All right. So next match. What's the next one? We're gonna go to this.
Oh. Well, we have another 0 hour match that got added last night, but I guess somewhere. I guess it's somewhere in this pile of.
Hang on a minute. I'll find it. There.
Brad said he's heading out. Will be back here next Sunday to report back. Hashtag have fun at hashtag Forbidden Door. I hope that you guys have a blast. I hope that Kathy has the best time and gets to see. Well, you too, of course, you and your wife too, of course. But I hope Kathy has a great time and gets to see. I hope more of her favorites win. And I hope that you have a great time. And thanks for hanging out with us. Oh, God. Jeremy said, what a obscenely long show, and I cover New Japan. This is like a longer than a New Japan. This is like a New Japan show on steroids.
Yeah, you guys are going to be up pretty late, man.
Oh, God. Well, I'll probably be hanging out with you in the chat some for a while. Probably. Unless it goes too late, because even though I work from home, I do have to work tomorrow.
Which
we're looking for the 0 hour match. It got added.
It's the ELP match.
Andy,
no, wait.
Andy says that no ELP's in that ladder match. It says I wish for Daniel Garcia in the ladder match for the TNT champions. Jeremy said 14 matches WTF. That's exactly what my editor said last night when we were watching Collision, and Tony added 2 more matches while I was covering it, and then I had to cover the.
Which one was the other 0 hour match?
Hold on. I can't remember which one was 0 hour and which one was main card. Give me a second.
0 hour was that.
There's a fourth. Yeah, there's 2 matches that got added.
One.
I sent it to you. I will go right here. The other 0 hour match is the 4-way tag team match. It is. We have a guest. Welcome to the show. Honorary Broad, Jeremy Feinstein.
I was just going to sneak in and do this, but whatever. You want to throw me on here? That's fine.
Hilarious.
Sorry, my bad. I guess I should have been in the
the
private chat first. Yes, I sent it to you.
I know you did, but I don't have it on here for some reason. Which one is it?
It's the 4-way tag team match with House of Black, or if you watch when they're on the Indies,
I put it.
What is it? Kings of the Black Throne, and they are wrestling.
It's right.
Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly. Yep, that's the one. This is a 0 hour match.
I hope you guys continue to have a great show. The layout will be better without.
You.
Oh, you're welcome to stay. I know that you have a long day since you're doing the.
Did he show it? Did he have the? He had the picture. It's so weird because I did put it in here, and it's like
it's okay.
So keep talking about it anyway, and I'll.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll
so
work out.
This match got added last night. So House of Black, which will be Malachi and Brody, because Buddy Matthews is injured. And also he got married to Rhea last week, and I think he's on his honeymoon. That's why he's really gone. But for storyline purposes, the patriarchy took him out so that they could go for the trios titles. But yeah, so House of Black versus Tomohiro Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly. Also against the team of Roddy Strong and Gabe Kidd against Private Party.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this match is just, again, in the spirit of putting a lot of people on because we're working with a lot of companies here, I guess. And that's, there's no CMLL guys in here, though. Now that I'm looking at it, it's AEW and New Japan guys. There's no CMLL representation here.
Well, what the F is that about?
Miguel said 4-way tag is the epitome of a match that doesn't need to happen. I am with you there. And I like a lot of these people in this match, but I don't need to see it here. This could have been it's the mustache. Jeremy says that Roddy Strong does have Alex Coughlin vibes. So maybe you can answer this, Jeremy. Where is Drilla? Is he unable to travel? Is that why
He's in trouble, isn't he?
Is he in trouble?
I think he got in trouble for something. I can't remember where I've heard that. But maybe he can.
Yeah, I was just curious because, and I've also heard, is Mikey Nichols' contract up? Because I had heard that was coming due, and we see that Shane Haste is here, and he's with Robbie, which I know Robbie's doing. He's going to be based out of the U.S. for a couple of months, and so he's taking indie bookings and things like that. So I don't know if that's why Mikey Nichols isn't here, because I heard his contract was coming due and it wasn't, they weren't sure if he was going to re-sign with New Japan, but I don't know how accurate that is. Jeremy said that they don't give a shit about the door. They were cutting promos on it. Well, then why are they in here? And also, I don't know if I should say this here, if I should just leave this for off air, but I talked to you about this and about my feelings about Gabe Kidd and why I don't care for him, but he's on that card. He's on the pre-show with somebody. So yeah, that's an interesting choice that they made. But yeah, but yes, so this match is a match that's happening. I assume, I mean, I would give this, looking at this card or this match, I would give it to Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly, just because.
Sorry about that.
They're probably my favorite. I mean, I like a lot of, I love House of Black, but yeah, Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly are probably my favorite. And I just would go with them to win. Jeremy brings up the point that he says, I wouldn't be worried about it given they both got titles. Yeah, right. And he said the issue is War Dogs need to be protected. They won't be, so remove them from the show. That makes sense. But I was just curious as to why it was just Gabe and not both of them, but that makes sense because they do need to be protected. But I didn't know if it was like a visa issue or whatever.
This match does not want to show up on our
that's okay because it doesn't need to happen anyway.
It's too late now. It literally is in here and everything. I don't know why it just decided that it does not want to be here. So.
It's okay. We can unless you have any thoughts, I can tell you again who's in the match.
No, I can see it right here. It's really annoying because I can see it on the slide over here. It says Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly and House of Black and Gabe Kidd and Roderick Strong and Private Party.
Yeah.
And it doesn't want to show up. So.
I mean, perhaps they're going to set up something with House of Black and Private Party, and maybe that's why they're in this. But yeah, I think they're just doing it because they're contractually obligated.
Probably
there. So if we're just doing this match for the hell of it, then I'm just going to say that Kyle O'Reilly and Ishii are going to win. Just because I want them to win and I like them the best.
Yeah, that's who I want to win. So that's what I'm going to say about this. This is probably like looking at this match, realizing that it was because this was just added. Like, it's probably as much as I like Ishii, meh. This may be my
get your snacks and go to the bathroom.
Get my snack before the show. 0 hour match.
Take your dog to pee.
Take the dogs to pee. Move on with life. I don't know. For some reason, it just does not want to show up. So we're going to the ladder match next, I guess.
Okay. We'll go to the ladder match. Let me get to this comment real quick. We have a comment here. This says, shout out to everyone in the chat, including Fight Game Media. Keep up the good work on the channel. Thank you. Appreciate it. And shout out from the South Bronx, brother BKL Contreras, a.k.a. Sporter Entertainment Guy. Well, thank you. Thank you for the shout out.
Thank you. Thanks. Enjoy the show. Have a good forbidden door.
Yes.
Enjoy it if you're going, if you are there, or if you are
if you're watching it later.
Watching it like us on the TVs. Let's see here.
Or at Dave & Buster's.
Or at Dave & Buster's, but not at the movie theater anymore, which is
I think so. Yeah, I think they're not doing that anymore.
John Muse used to do it, and he was saying that it's actually something that he enjoyed. That it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's kind of like
what's cool about it is you get to pay for $20 instead of $50 because you pay for a movie ticket instead of
and you get food and you get nice, comfortable chairs.
Well, I mean, all of our
probably way more comfortable than Dave & Buster's.
Dude, our theaters here, we have a local chain and one of the bigger chains, but like we have two like local with the recliners, and like you can get freaking food and drinks and the whole thing. So all the stuff you need at home for $20 instead of, I mean, you still end up spending it on concessions, but
yeah.
Anyway,
then
here we
you
are.
might be able to do your if you have food sensitivities, might be able to deal with it a little bit better.
True story.
Maybe. All right, so here is the TNT Championship ladder match for the vacated TV title, or TNT Championship rather, not TV title.
Although I do tend to agree with Jeremy about like you're just your own MJF.
I think
I put it in this order. So
and then this match has Takeshita, ROH World Champion Mark Briscoe. Just want to make that very clear. He has a title that he has not defended on Honor Club. So, Thursday, I take that. So Thursday was the first time he has been on Honor Club since he won that title. It's the first time he has defended it. In case you're just wondering how things in Honor Club are going, about the same. I will be a rant for another day. I'm sure I'll be back on that next week. So Dante Martin, they do have some New Japan representation with ELP, whose poor little heart is broken. He can't make a full heart with his hands anymore. Leo Rush and Jack Perry. So this is a roundabout way to put the title on Jack Perry.
Very, 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 very roundabout.
It'll be a fun match. I like the people who are in it.
I worry
the match will
for
be great,
certain people who tend to hurt themselves severely in ladder matches.
Dante Martin. Looking at you, Dante Martin.
Looking at you,
Dante.
Mark
Briscoe last night, because they had on Collision, they did the match with all 6 of them. It was a trios match, and it ends with Mark Briscoe climbing a ladder and diving off of it and taking out everybody.
Good Lord.
So this match is going to be insane.
He has been so, but I'm kind of excited because Mark Briscoe's been so awesome lately.
He has been a
lot of fun. I'm excited for him. So, I mean, it'll be fine. It'll be a good enough match and everything. I get queasy because that last time was pretty gross. But
yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, the match will be fun. I think it seems pretty, unless they just go for the only other person I could see, if they're for whatever reason not putting this title on Jack Perry, Takeshita is the only other person I see them putting it on.
Yeah, because it's time. Like you need to give him something if you're gonna do anybody else.
Yeah,
like no one else should win the match. So
if it's not Jack Perry,
I think it's gonna be. But I think they put people like Takeshita and
and then Takeshi's going to be in the G1 too, so he'll be gone.
I feel like they're putting people like that in this match to legitimize Jack Perry actually getting this title. So
yeah,
I mean, it seems so like just obvious that he's getting it, but
and that's one of the things I was wondering was if they're gonna stack all the title matches towards the end of the show, and then which they may not, they may put it kind of punctuated, but then I was wondering if they're gonna do. Which match comes first? The match with the Elite, so they can be out here with Jack, or do something to help Jack win. Brandon Cutler is also in play. Or if this match happens first and then the Elite happens later, you can never. So I could see some Elite shenanigans happening, especially like last night. He kept he wouldn't tag in for the match. He kept jumping down off the apron, but he broke up every pin that he could. So he works smarter, not harder. So I see a lot of that happening. He's going to let them do all the work, and then he's going to take the title. Probably.
I mean, that's kind of the thing they're setting up with him. So it makes more sense for him.
Perhaps. I wonder if anybody from this match ends up getting into Blood and Guts because of Jack Perry. Like if they're coming to have they'll come, like if he costs them the title or something, then they're like, fine, I will beat your ass in a cage. Maybe.
That would be good.
So maybe that is also being set up here. But yeah.
Right. So let's go on to the next one. This one.
Okay.
Put this here.
This match, besides the two women's matches, this is the match that I'm looking forward to the most because, duh.
Because
it's Dragon versus Dragon. Danielson versus Takagi. Obviously, I mean, like, what can you say about this that isn't just
amazing?
obvious? I mean,
It's amazing. I can't believe this match is happening.
I am apparently, and this match apparently has happened before. It happened in, I think it was Dragon Gate, I believe. And from what a friend told me, then it was match of the night 14 years ago, and both of them have only gotten better in the last 14 years. And so they have high expectations. Without seeing the previous match, I have high expectations for this match. I feel like this will easily be a show stealer. It will be probably the match of the night for a lot of us. Was just, I mean, what else can you say? And this poster is very cool.
I really dig some of the new graphics they've been putting out. I wish they were a little bigger in the that's why I try and fill in the background there, so there's not a whole bunch of white space, but they're really cool pictures. Like the one with Tony that's coming up is pretty cool too. Yes. I don't know.
What is your prediction
this match? Me. I win this match.
Yes. Also, we should point out this is an Owen Cup match. This is the first round tournament match. And we talked about it last week on the show. So for those of you who missed it or need a refresher, it is possible for Shingo to win and wrestle the second round match, win that, go compete in the G1, and then compete at Wembley. It would be a lot of wrestling.
That's a lot.
But it is possible. So it is feasible. It's not just a very cut and dry, but it pretty much is cut and dry because I think, and even so, the winner of this match faces Pac Wednesday on Dynamite at Beach Break. And Shingo has tweeted that if he wins, he will forego his match at Corkin Hall to wrestle Pac in Chicago. He has already said. So there is that little slim, tiny little glimpse that it could potentially work out. However,
I tend to lean Danielson. He's on his retirement tour with these matches.
Yeah. And they're leaning into, I keep seeing reports. I haven't really read it, but I've seen a few things saying that because Danielson's been losing a lot of big matches and we're getting towards the second half of the year now, that's going to kind of start changing. And this is the match to kind of turn it around for him. And I saw a tweet yesterday. They said it's going to be the Montreal screw job, except we force Bryan Danielson to become world champion because he's been adamant and not wanting to win a title. He does not want to be a champion. And so they were saying that it's going to be the Montreal screw job, except they're going to make him be champion.
Ha ha. You won.
Surprise. Sorry, Swerve. We're going to put the title on somebody who doesn't want it.
Dude, everyone would freak out though. I mean,
we talked about how that could be an all-out match. Like if they don't, like assuming Swerve retains at tonight and at Wembley, you need a big match for all out. And Swerve has said that he wants to wrestle Danielson. He said it at the last media scrum. So there's all the reasons to put that match together. And this
is an Owen Cup one, you said? Yes,
this is an Owen Cup match.
Yeah. I mean, I think Danielson wins this, but I do like that they're at least trying to make it not seem so obvious that Danielson is like.
There's lots of obstacles for Shingo to go through should he win. and then win on Wednesday.
Like up for the challenge, I guess, but that seems like a lot. And he's like, I know he's new to some people, but he has been wrestling for quite some time now.
Yes, and G1 is
a slog.
It's very grueling. Oh, and also I will bring in this little tidbit. I was reading there was a Sports Illustrated article. It was an interview with Shingo, and Shingo was talking about how he is a big fan of Owen. But he said a lot of people don't realize that Owen wrestled in Japan, and he had the feud with Liger, and he was like, anybody that has Liger's support or respect has my respect. And early in my career, I used to wear a singlet that was inspired by Owen, which I thought was a really cool thing. I had no idea. And so he said he wanted to, but then he said he was at Wembley last year and he saw Will Ospreay representing New Japan and wrestling. And he was like, I want to do that. And so that's why he has entered the cup, is because he wants to go to Wembley and and he said that Jon Moxley took their title and brought it to America. So he wants to win an AEW title and take it to Japan. And so that is why he has entered the cup, is his reasoning.
That's cool.
So
I mean, they could give it to him.
Yeah, I think there's like a very maybe 0.5% chance that it happens, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
It'll still be a banger though.
Yeah, I was gonna say this,
matter.
regardless of what happens, who wins, this is one of those matches that, again, we said everybody wins.
This is just, I mean, I can't even believe it. I didn't even think about this match until someone booked it, and I went, "Wow, I needed this in my life."
Mm-hmm. Yes, very excited
There
about
we
it.
go. What's this one?
All right, so this is another match that was added last night. The reason this match is happening, if you missed Collision last night, so Brian Keith is legitimately injured.
Oh no!
And so on Dynamite, they hinted that it was gonna be Suzuki, and then Suzuki was like, "I hate you, Chris Jericho. I will never team with you. I want to fight you. I want to fight you. So I'm out." So last night, Jericho, Big Bill, Brian Keith were just walking around the arena Jericho's doing his annoying gimmick that he's doing now. And so they opened a door and were surprised by Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata. They get jumped. Brawl spills out to the ring. They're getting their asses handed to them because it's technically 3-on-2 because Brian Keith is in a sling. And out comes Jeffrey Cobb. On Jericho's side. For whatever reason. And so
I mean,
I guess he's mad that nobody wanted to accept his TV title open challenge. And Samoa Joe is already occupied. And so this is I was talking about with Nikki last night. I was like, here's our roundabout. Hope Steven we'll get to see this too. It's our roundabout way of getting Samoa Joe
versus
Jeff Cobb.
It's
not 1-on-1, not for the TV title, but
maybe later.
Fingers crossed.
Actually, I'll say this though, is as much as I like Samoa Joe and Hook and Shibata in that team right now, I don't care at all about the Chris Jericho thing, but putting Jeff Cobb in this match actually makes me care. So
same.
I mean,
I think that
even if he's on the side, I mean, it actually makes me interested in something the Learning Tree is doing for the first time so far.
Brian Keith is the most interesting thing about that group.
No kidding, and now he's hurt.
Mm-hmm. The Bad Apple, as Jericho calls him.
I love him. He's the best part of the entire thing. He's the only
I cannot wait for
me
Brian Keith to turn on Chris Jericho.
Yeah, me too.
And chop down his dumbass Learning Tree.
Yeah.
And I guess, this might probably be a thing for if the CMLL fans who are tuning in, because again, a lot of them are really big fans of Jericho. So they're getting
that's true. I mean, that's a good point.
It's not necessarily for AEW fans. It's
not necessarily. That's okay.
I'm just glad Jeff Cobb is in it, and maybe we'll get a glimpse of Samoa Joe and Jeff Cobb. Maybe we'll get that at Wembley.
Not House of Torture, I guess. So.
Hashtag tweet the positives.
Yeah. Silver lining.
The silver lining here.
Right. Next one.
Yes. And who do you think takes this match? And this is just a match for a match. There's no title on the line.
I want it to be Samoa Joe and his team.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna go with them because that's my heart pick.
I would like it to be that team because I love them. I love all three of them. I think it's going to be the Learning Tree because they're trying to get this dumb faction over. Jeff Cobb should help.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Possibly Jeff Cobb pins Samoa Joe. And maybe this is how we get a match with them at Wembley or something. Or
that would be great.
Or at Wrestle Kingdom or something. Maybe it builds up to something for them later. So
that'd be awesome.
I'm going to go with the Learning Tree and hope that my theory that Jeff Cobb pinning Samoa Joe to get a one-on-one match later is the only positive outcome I can see of this match. So that's what I'm going to go with.
All right. You're probably smart. It's probably a wiser.
I could be completely wrong.
Well,
but
it's wrestling. Boom.
Yes. So
I love this picture.
Yeah. So Mariah tweeted this out because there's a separate graphic that they've made, but Mariah tweeted this a couple of months ago. It's based on the movie that just came out with Zendaya and why did I blank? It's the tennis movie. why I just completely blanked on the title of it, but it's the poster is based off of that movie because it's a love triangle. So this is what's here, and I really like the sunglasses where you have Tony in it and you have Mina in it. Like I love this poster so much. I think it encapsulates the story so well. I love everything about it. So
I'm really glad you sent me this one when you sent. I was like, we're using this. I had the other one.
Mariah
like,
tweeted it. I screenshot it immediately. I was like, oh, we're using this for the PrePre Show.
Cool.
I love this poster.
It's just really fun.
Yes.
So
I can't wait for this match. I'm so
excited
a lot of
for
fun. This match. Yeah, it's gonna be. And Mariah has said she wants to be in both corners, and she did that last week where she was kind of in both corners. She wants to be in Tony's corner, and she wants to be in Mina's. And then we've had, Mina accidentally. You probably can't see because of the camera. Accidentally hit Tony Storm with a champagne bottle and upset Mariah that she did that. And so just I love the story. There's so everybody just everything they're doing. And I saw this tweet that somebody sent that did you see so the promo that Tony cut last night, she's standing backstage, she's standing like she's barefoot and she's standing very still. And it's bookmarked in I'm under Powerbombshells, bookmarked under this. But so apparently the promo that she cut is inspired by the 1883 poem, The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. The New Colossus is the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
And so as you see it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense because the way she's standing very statuesque. And so somebody put so they have the link, the promo, and then they've got like and she uses some of the line, and, she's talking about how, give me your tired and give me your poor, and then she's like, and she lifts her lamp beside the golden door. Tony, the forbidden door. Tony holds the belt up, and they made just like, and it was saying in the poem that Lazarus depicts the statue as a woman / a mother who is welcoming to all those new immigrants coming to America in search of a new home. The statue for these migrants comes to symbolize freedom and dreams of a better life. So in a way, the poem is about a monument that greets people coming to New York through a previously forbidden door, promising the new opportunities. And so I thought that's pretty brilliant, actually. Brilliant. Like
that's like good crossover right there.
Yeah.
There was talk about them taking, and I don't know if it happened, but there was talk of them taking the new Colossus off the Statue of Liberty. And I was like, I hate you.
I had not heard that, but I hate them too.
I know that because of ideologues, looking for the right word, have gotten out of control. So that's beautiful because that's like a crisscross of like New York and the whole story, and she that's really cool how she related the two.
Yeah, and I don't know whose idea. I mean, if it was Tony's idea, whomever's idea that was,
good job.
It's brilliant. Like
nicely
I didn't make the connection until I saw that tweet, and I was like, because the promo was already incredible. Like Tony she's so good at her promo. She's really this character. She's incredible, and she's finally connected it with the wrestling, which in the beginning that was a lot of it was the character was really good, but the wrestling was not matching up with it, and she's finally figured it all out. And it's just one of the most compelling things on TV, and just I think in wrestling for me, it's one of the most I'm always waiting to see what happens next. What was that?
It's a great story. They're actually telling a really good story here. This storyline is like. I'm into this. I care. It's been well built. They can book.
They can. Imagine that.
Storytelling. Holy crap.
So Hassan says that his gut is that Tony Storm will win the match, but isn't keeping Mariah. I think that's I agree. I agree with that statement.
I'm torn as to whether like Mariah takes Mina's side and Tony wins and that pisses her off, or Mariah has a de facto parting of ways sort of with her bestie. And
the only thing is though, now that because I had forgotten about this though, Mariah is in the tournament because of Tony. Tony told her, nobody looked out for me, so I will look out for you, and I will be with you every step of the way. So does she actually lose her here? Because Or does Mariah keep her around to help her win the tournament? Then turns on her, because Mariah is the heel in the All About Eve story. She is the one trying to take Tony's spot. She wants to become Tony. Right. She wants to replace her. She wants everything that she has. So at some point, Mariah has to turn heel completely. We've seen glimpses of it when she's chosen Mina over her.
I mean, well, that's what I mean is like, she could essentially turn on Mina to prove air quotes to Tony that she's actually on her side and she does want her with her so that she can take her belt away from her and become her.
Right. And take over her, which again, since now we all know we've been informed on where to watch All About Eve. Mel and I are going to we need to set a time when we're going to try
since we have a lot of time between now and the next pre-show, we should do that during that 8-week downtime.
Yes, and we've got G1 that we have to work around. Yeah, but we have to factor it. So Mel and I are both going to try. Neither of us have seen All About Eve before. And now that we know there are multiple ways to watch it, Mel and I have decided that we are going to watch it and see how this is playing out. And then again, I mentioned last week that Tony also keeps mentioning Sunset Boulevard, Tony Khan, that is. And so I don't know how that factors. I know the story because obviously when Mariah signed, he said all about Mariah. Like, so it's the parallels are there, but the Sunset Boulevard apparently is also playing into this as well. So have to see if that is available somewhere to watch. But definitely, I think Mel and I are going to, our goal is to watch it prior to Wembley so we can kind of see how this is playing out and how what we've missed, because just from seeing this without seeing the film, like,
it's interesting.
The story is great, and and Miguel said it's definitely his favorite story in AEW, and it's an incredible story, and that's without seeing the movie. So I think seeing the movie and kind of seeing like the parallels and like maybe they're picking little things up that I don't know because I haven't seen it. So I'm really interested too, but I think this is going to be great. And I could see Mariah doing that, where she stays with Tony so Tony can stay by her side through the tournament as she promised. Then she wins, and then that's what sets it up. Perhaps her relationship with Mina comes back around at Wembley. Maybe she pretends that she's not with Mina anymore, and her and Mina have been in cahoots the whole time, and Mariah, and she helps Mariah dethrone Tony. There's that possibility as well. I don't think this is the last we've seen of Mina. I think that Mina will be involved in AEW for a while, and it seems on the media call he really put over Mina, and he talked about how great she is and how he'd love to have her as a champion in AEW. I mean, part of that could be selling the match for today, but he really seems to he had just a lot of positive things to say about Mina. So I feel like regardless of whatever happens, Mina's going to be around for a while. I think we see more of her, which is great because she's fantastic. I love all three of them, and Luther is great in his role as well. And I think that's going to come into play because Luther is getting fed up with some of the things that Tony does, and you could see the frustrations with him. So I think this could be executed really, really well, and I hope that it is because the story's been great.
Yeah, I hope they keep it up. I'm super excited for this match.
Me too.
Big time. All right, next one.
Yeah, I saw that. Hassan said that even Danielson was praising Mina today. Yeah, I saw that quote from him, and he was talking about how her character is just great and she's really compelling, and that he's a big fan of hers too. So
that's awesome.
Cool. Yes. This is another match. Go ahead.
Bryan Danielson, that's a huge compliment because
I was gonna say if you get the seal of approval from that guy, you're doing something right.
He really, he's a wrestling nerd but he's a nerd because he reads and does all that stuff too. But
right.
And I know that he has watched all along. So especially with that sort of thing, like getting him to make an effort to compliment you. It seems like this
right. When you earn a compliment from Danielson, then he means it. He doesn't just hand them out.
Yes, exactly. You have earned it because he is not going to ever. Yes, exactly. I just think it's cool. I'm really excited, and I'm glad that there's so much hype around a ladies match that's been built up.
Me too. Definitely.
And then so that match is going to be great. obviously the dragons, the dueling dragons is like the
Mhm.
match. But when I saw this match,
Yes,
I
I'm
almost
excited.
peed my pants because
This
not
match is
only
gonna be a
has
good
Orange
one.
Cassidy wrestled the like last 2 years on the show so well that
He's had some of his best matches on these Forbidden
on
Door
the
cards.
Forbidden Door show, that Will Ospreay match with him that first year was like my match of the year.
That match is the match was
It's
insane.
so good.
So
And
good.
Will and him have just gotten better. This, I don't even know what to say. This is gonna be amazing.
And I'm really curious to see how Orange handles Zach, because
Me
Zach
too.
has
He's
such obviously a very specific style. He is one of, if not the premier technical wrestler, and has been for a very long time. Like, he wins the Bryan Danielson Award like every year. Like, he's just, and he's gotten, and that's the thing, like Zach, like never, I've seen, obviously we've talked about this, like we've seen him and he does these moves and he does them. I mean, I'm so blown away by him every time I see him, even though I've seen him do these things so many times, like I'm still just blown away by him every time I watch him. And then obviously Orange is, he's got the comedy stuff, and clearly he can be a serious wrestler. We've seen it. It's kind of like the MJF thing. Like, we know he can wrestle,
right.
and I'm very curious to see, but I think Orange can't help but sometimes be Orange. But Zach can be funny. Zach can play
That
into that type of
can
stuff. Like,
be
Zach
funny.
is in the ring, he's generally extremely serious, but outside of the ring, he's very funny. He's like Orange bollocks, and he's calling like the
When
promo
he
that
was
he
like
cut.
all the stuff he was doing with Kevin Kelly with all the music stuff and the video
Yes,
game references.
right. Yeah, you have the George
And
Michael
where he
stuff.
was
George
like, I
Michael's
got you this
coming-
punk album. He turned the whole like the Techers into this like punk band, basically. They're just like,
yes. Yeah.
And
then you have the George Michael thing where
yes.
George Michael was coming to him in his dream.
Promos on the Prime Minister of Britain, and he was talking about that he had to quit wrestling and go back to Britain and become Prime Minister because they were so stupid.
Yes. And that one time George Michael couldn't help him because he was with Prince, and George Michael and Prince were walking around a lake or something and could not help him win his match. Like, just this man,
he's got
like, this match is perfect. Like, the two of them for so many, just like the outside stuff. Then there's this old tweet that keeps circulating, and Zach said in 2017, "I'm going to marry Orange Cassidy." And Orange was like, "Get in line," or I forget what Orange said. So like, people keep joking, "Oh, this is long-term storytelling," but like I cannot wait to
this
see
is gonna
what they
be fun.
do.
It's gonna be
Just
really cool to see them do their thing together.
And this isn't for a TV title, so do we get a 15? Well, it doesn't on pay-per-view. It's like, but do we get a 15-minute time limit? Because we know how Zach works in those parameters of 15 minutes. I assume it's going to be less than that because there's 14 matches on this card. But like, it'll be interesting to see how quickly they work and with what they're given.
Does he have the TV title back?
No, No, I said he doesn't have it.
Oh, he doesn't.
Jeff Cobb has it.
So
I'm saying that, but we know how he works within those 15-minute parameters. But I assume it's going to be much shorter because it's on a pay-per-view. Although in New Japan they do these really long cards and have 15-minute matches, so perhaps. But it'll be really interesting to see how much time they get and how much they do within that time. And yeah, really excited. Clearly, as you can tell, by the way, both of us are talking about
this is a good
very
match.
excited for this
really
match.
Good match.
Cannot wait.
Excellent choice, Tony. And the one that we were talking about earlier that might lead off the main card.
Yes, MJF versus Hechicero. Jerry made the good point that he thinks that this match probably opens the show because the star either wants to be in the main or the opener. There's no title involved here. We're in his hometown on Long Island. This is very much a MJF. Everything favors MJF here. Everything favors him here. I think that Hechicero is probably gonna surprise because he just invents moves like as he goes. That's been a challenge card trying to write his matches because I'm like, what is this movie he just did? Like, I don't even know what to call this. Commentary doesn't know what to call this. Excalibur, who knows the names of everything, doesn't know what to call this. He doesn't know what this is.
If Excalibur doesn't know, it doesn't have a name as far as I'm concerned.
Right. And so
because he knows freaking everything, or he can make something up on the fly. His ability to like make up names for moves on the fly sometimes, I was just like, he just made that up.
And you wouldn't know because
you're welcome, wrestler. He just gave you a perfect move for your move there. He gave you the perfect name for it.
You can't have this is why you need real people, because AI can't do that.
Correct. Thank you.
I think this match will be better than people are giving it credit for.
I think
people see this and they're like, oh, this is a TV match, which perhaps it is. But
I don't know. It's okay. And MJF does bring it when he actually
I think they'll deliver. It's MJF's, and MJF hasn't been. The last time he was in Long Island, he lost his title. He lost at World's End. He had everything taken from him. Think Adam Cole comes back here? Does something?
You know, that's a great point.
I had not thought about that until just now.
That's a really good point.
We haven't seen Adam Cole in a couple of months. He came back and Wardlow was looking at him like, I will fight you. But then because the last time he was in Long Island was at World's End. That's when he lost his title.
The world ended for him.
It did end for him. This is his first match back. That'll be really so. I'm very interested to see if there's any outside things. I still think the match would be great. I think Hechicero will bring out stuff that MJF is not. I don't think he's ever wrestled anybody like Hechicero. I think Hechicero is going to bring a new level out. I don't think this is going to be as easy as MJF thinks it's going to be, and I think it's going to be. I think this match is going to deliver in a way that people are going to be surprised by. Will it be match of the night? Probably not. But I think this will be a good, solid match.
But MJF is going to have to adapt here because he's a different kind of wrestler altogether.
And he's got to wrestle a long time because he has been injured and he's wrestled Roosh, which that match was incredible and that tested him a lot. But he's had one match.
This is not the kind of match he does basically at all.
No,
he tries. As a matter of fact, he goes way out of his way to stay away from this kind of match.
Right, exactly.
To stay healthy. Although I guess maybe at this point, now that he's messed up that shoulder, maybe he's trying new things. So
perhaps we have a comment here that says they vote for Hechicero. I would not be mad at Hechicero one.
Me either. It's probably going to go to MJF just because of all the things Sam just said.
It is MJF. It's his hometown. He's back. I feel like
he's trying to reestablish his path to the top. He's got to get his shit back together.
Yes. So I do see MJF winning this. However, I think that Hechicero is going to make it very hard, and I think it's going to be a lot different than we expect. But if Hechicero wins, I will not be mad because I have become such a fan of his in the little bit of time I've seen him and the limited amount I've gotten to see him. He's incredible. And I'm still really mad that match with Dalton Castle got such a small amount of time because I think that match could have been so much more than what it was if they were given the time. And if they run that back somewhere, run it back on ROH. Good Lord, let us have it.
There you go.
Reward the 12 of us who watch regularly.
All 12 of you.
All 12 of us that watch regularly every single week. Let us have that match.
You guys have a group chat?
We do. Actually, there is a group chat with me. Nikki is not in it, but she watches with me.
That's the only reason I say that. It's just funny because when that comment got made and then it became a meme on wrestling Twitter with all the ROH fans that you guys, and it makes me laugh every single time.
There is a little. This actually
just came about.
That just came about recently. This group chat, and there's I think there's 5 of us in there, so we always joke. So I'm like, well, my sister watches.
You should have just named it those 12 people.
It's ROH therapy group is what it's called.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. It's better.
That's our group, and that's where we watch ROH together and talk about it. But yes, for the 12 of us who watch on a regular basis. Please run back
this
at
whole
Cesaro
dozen.
versus. I know that it is not. This show is not a priority for you, but for some of us, it is, and we would like to have some good matches down there. Sometimes we get really great matches, and then we get forgotten about until it's almost pay-per-view time, and then. But I'm hoping we talked about it a few weeks ago. I'm hoping with this path to All In series that they're doing in Arlington. They're doing 2 ROH tapings a day, so they're getting out ahead of themselves. They said that they're going to bring in big names for Collision. I'm hoping some of those names maybe hang out and go to Honor Club. Maybe. I don't know. I'm hopeful. Not cautiously optimistic, as I generally am with ROH. With ROH, I am generally either not optimistic at all or cautiously optimistic because I have learned my lesson through 70 episodes.
You are a trooper. All 12 of you are troopers.
Thank you. I was joking about how it's almost like 205 Live when it was a very small group of people.
Yeah, I was one of those 12
except 205 regularly had excellent wrestling. They had cohesive storylines and things like that, where ROH sometimes doesn't have any of that.
205 was great.
205, yes, 205 is one of the shows
that was such a hidden gem.
I will die on the hill that for a period of time, for like 2 years,
was their best wrestling.
It was the best thing that WWE was putting out.
Yes, absolutely.
Storyline, matches,
everything about it. We went to a SmackDown and we took my mother-in-law to her first live wrestling show, and we made sure and stayed for the tapings because that was part of the draw for us.
Yes. Yeah,
we were
there were not a lot of people that stayed, and we were way up in the nosebleeds. We were yelling for Cedric.
Oh yeah.
And people were like, he can't hear you. I'm like, there's 20 people here. Cedric can hear me way up in the nosebleeds.
He knows we're here. He knows that we're here. How about that?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Even if he can barely hear us, he's going to know that we're here supporting him. Okay.
Yes, and I have and we were wearing our Cedric shirts.
There you go.
From his indie days. All right. So on to yet another trios match.
There's a lot.
This match is a match. It's the Acclaimed and Hiroshi Tanahashi, who has called himself Scissor Ace.
I'm not saying that.
Nikki and I have been calling him Scissor Ace ever since because it's funny as hell. And if anybody is going to say it, it's Tanahashi. He's the only person. He is the only person that can get away with saying that he is a Scissor Ace.
As long as he's saying it, it's fine.
Yes.
It was because it was him who said it. I will allow it.
Only because it's Tana.
Well, he is President Ace of the Universe. So
So if he would like to add yet another nickname,
if you're the Ace of the Universe and you're the president, you get to do what you want.
Which means you get to be Scissor Ace.
Scissor Ace. So I'm gonna.
So we will allow it only for him. So they're taking on the Elite, which are clearly Nicholas and Matthew, and the extremely hilarious Kazuchika Okada, who has proven that he might just be a comedy wrestler trapped inside the body of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Now, there's discussion going on about the fact that I don't know if you've heard any of this. That some people are a little peeved about the way that they're doing. Okada and Shibata are doing kind of the same thing with and so that it might be.
I have never heard even made those.
Some racist, or tropish, and
I feel like that is a stretch, but maybe it's because I haven't made the correlation between the two.
Now, Garrett had brought up to Dave some of the stuff he was worried that it was getting really close to some of the WWE tropes.
And
he's somebody obviously who's speaking from a perspective of he knows.
I had not made that connection, but I can see it. I will say that I could see it
because my feeling about this, and I had this with Okada's always been funny.
Okada's hilarious. If you watch him on
the Bucks book,
watch
he
him
used to rib them all the time. He would dress up in their clothes and walk around the dressing room. He would
I feel like they're letting Okada be himself.
Well, I think for the first time ever, because North American wrestling is the way it is, and he couldn't necessarily. I mean, we got broken.
He's not carrying a company on his back anymore.
Like we got Brokata, and as weird as it was one of the awesomest things he ever did. He made us pop for him pulling off a pair of pants.
Exactly.
He popped the whole universe when he went back to his trunks.
He sure did.
He pissed everybody off for a whole summer because he was wearing pants and making balloon animals, and it was the greatest thing on the planet.
Amazing. I love Okada.
So
God, that was one of my favorite things.
And
I love Okada as a serious wrestler too. Like Okada is just, and I get so
when he was this serious 700-day champion, he was always wearing a suit, and he was the Rainmaker, and he was.
Well, we got fuck them kids Okada before he left. He didn't like the
right, and then he was old man yelling at the clouds with Kiyomiya and all of the other young wrestlers.
So I feel like I can see. I don't want to dismiss that or discount that because I can see what they mean, but I agree that I feel like Okada is just getting to be himself. He's not having to carry an entire company on his back. He's getting the leeway of this new character. He's getting used to being on He's getting used to being on television nearly weekly.
And those are his friends. Like they were some of the first people that helped him in America when he first came.
Well, and then he like
territory.
He lived when he was doing the TNA stuff. Like he lived with Alex Shelley. Like he lived in his guest room and stuff like that. And from everything that I've heard, like Okada is a very funny person.
I've heard nothing but like about how hilarious he is.
As far as Shibata goes with the using the app, he's the one who started doing it. He did it.
And apparently I was talking to John about this.
I don't know that it was necessarily even supposed to become a bit. I think he because he used it in a scrum with Tony. He wanted to talk to the people who were in the scrum, and this is the way he did it. And then he brought it to TV, and then Samoa Joe caught him speaking spell, but also he made fun of Samoa Joe for being a larger man wearing a floral shirt. And I think it was just a little dig at him. I don't believe its intent was to be racist, but I can see how some people may feel that way.
It was something that's been going around a bit, and someone came to me this morning and was like, "What is happening?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, this is the first
I've seen of it," and
but
I had not made
feel like, and then the other John was telling me is that they actually in Japan do use the translation thing that's actually like something that they do they use that. It's a kind of normal thing in Japan. So that's something that they actually use their phones to do translating stuff to talk to people. It's a commonplace thing. So it's not even like weird. Right. But again, I can't speak to the like cultural.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not in that community. So
but I've always this whole time I was like, wow, he's like finally getting to like let his hair down.
That's how I have viewed it as well. As he's getting to be a person he's never been. He gets to be a heel, which he's not really gotten to do. He gets to be funny. He gets to not have all this pressure on him. And like Laron says, once the bell rings, they're all business. Shibata and Okada are not being treated nearly as poorly as Tozawa is by WWE. They do funny stuff until the bell rings, and then they're all serious. And then Miguel says, best part of the build for this is Okada laughing at Scissor Ace right on camera and then having to be serious. Yes, because he didn't realize he was on camera. And like my favorite part was the music when he was cutting out where the Acclaim's mic got cut off and he was like, I pressed the wrong button. And then it's the crying and then immediately going serious. Like it cracks me up every time. And then but Miguel does say that people want to see the Rainmaker. Like they want to see Omega to be the cleaner. Totally get it. I don't necessarily agree that he needs to be New Japan Okada, but spamming bitch is just is lazy to me. That's fair. I think he's caught. I think he thinks that I think hears the reaction. And so he just at least when I will say when he does do it, the timing is usually really well. So he gets the timing right. But it is he is towing the line of going overboard with that, I would say. But I'm really enjoying him. But I can see I don't want to maybe, and it doesn't necessarily, even if that's not their intent, if that's how people are reacting to it, then that can still be a problem, even if that's not the intent, because that happens. We've seen stuff where things aren't supposed to be the intent, but it's how it reads. And so, but yeah, that's the first time I've heard this conversation. I didn't realize that was going around, and so I had no idea.
Yeah,
and
that
sucks that some people are worried that they're getting tropish and racist, because they definitely don't want to do that, and maybe they should dial it back a little bit until they can, because you do.
And I mean, my inclination, and just as a who I am, where I am from, whatever, my interpretation is like they are letting them be wrestlers in their company, and then I don't feel like whereas I felt like that was all they let the Japanese wrestlers do in WWE, because like they're weird and from a weird land, and here's the weird shit we're gonna have them do, and like whatever. Here, I don't think that there's like, I don't feel like Tony, it may come off that way, but I don't think at any point Tony's like, go out there and act like,
No, and I don't think so. But again, that goes
trope.
back to the intent. Like, that may not be their
Oh.
intent, but if that's how it's coming off, then they've got to be careful with that, because they don't want to veer into the tropes.
We had the same conversation, I think, when MJF was using like the rolls of quarters and doing the things that he was doing, and where's the line? And I think unfortunately you have to leave that up to the people that can only speak from experience, but it was a conversation that was going around, and I thought it would be interesting to bounce it off of you.
Yeah, that's fair.
My feeling, and the feeling that I got from the people I was talking to just in our chat, is Okada's having the time of his life.
He appears to be. But I think maybe if there's some awareness around the concerns about the tropes, maybe they walk it back a little bit. Not to say he quits doing comedy altogether, but maybe and Shibata for that matter too. And then maybe they bring it back a little bit and make sure they're reeling it in. Make sure that they're doing it, but being aware that, hey, some people are a little concerned about this. Let's dial it back a little bit, or let's approach it this way instead, and make sure that we don't go into that, because we don't want, especially because there are a lot of Japanese fans who are watching because of Okada, and you don't want
especially
to,
now because of the crossover,
because they already have preconceived notions of Americans in some cases, which is they're not totally wrong.
Just so everyone knows, racism actually exists outside of the United States. Other cultures are racist against each other. It's not unique to us. We just really wear it on our sleeve here.
That's fair.
But I mean, if you like a lot of the Asian nations, what I'm saying is, a lot of the Asian nations don't like each other either. So
right, but my point is, this is where they're being presented on American TV, and so, but they are being presented to people who are watching, who are Japanese, who are watching this because of Okada and Shibata, and so you don't want to play into these types of things, because it doesn't do anything for them. And so that is something that I will probably be more cognizant of going forward, just watching and seeing how things play out, because that is not something I had thought of. I
hadn't thought of it until Garrett brought it up to Dave.
Yeah, so that is definitely something to kind of watch out how it plays out.
He's brought it up to Dave on Friday, and it became a topic of discussion in our Observer Radio channel. And so I was just wondering, like,
I hadn't, and I haven't seen anything on Twitter about it or anything like that, so I had no clue that was a conversation.
I think a lot of us just like went, huh, like I hadn't looked at it that way, because obviously, like we were talking about earlier, obviously you wouldn't, because you're not from that culture. So
he is the champ, Colin. He has the Continental Championship. Colin is mad. He doesn't like Okada in AEW. He's getting paid a lot of money, but he doesn't like that he's hanging around with spot monkeys, who are his best friends in real life, and make him a champ. He is a champion. He's a Continental champion. He took it from Eddie Kingston. They just don't really make him defend that title. Sometimes if you look at him, you probably would not know that he is Continental champion, because it's not something that they make him defend.
Well, and it's funny because it was like we all knew he needed a belt, But they wanted, I mean, you can't make him champion immediately, although I guess you could have. But so they were like, we got to get a belt on this guy, though.
But if you're gonna make the Continental Champion mean something, you have to actually do something with it. It's not, yeah. So
I'm hoping between the Jack Perry thing and whatever goes on here, there's a story element that will wrap up some of that and move along to the next thing. So that there's like
we have Blood and Guts coming up at the end of the
wrestling.
month, so. Yes.
Between those people instead of
When is Blood and Guts? What was the date for that? I don't remember. It's
in
July, right?
Or is it July or August? It's in Nashville, right?
I can't remember what the date was for that. Yeah.
It's July.
I think it is in Nashville. Okay, yeah.
But I believe it's in Tennessee. So
I think you're right. That sounds right. So
because when you said that you were going to go to Tennessee, I was like, for Blood and Guts, and it was like, oh no, for this concert.
And Nikki, it's funny because Nikki and I were talking about, we were like, I wonder if there's going to be any wrestling in the Nashville area when we're there that weekend, whether it's AEW or indie, because we were talking about maybe checking out a show if there's something going on.
You should.
Yeah, we'll see. What are your predictions for this match? Who do you think wins?
I'm going to take the faces on this one. And so I'm taking Scissor Ace and the Acclaimed, I think. Even though...
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be the Elite just because...
I mean, they're probably going to cheat. I guess they're probably going to cheat and win.
But I could also see, because they're like... the Acclaimed. Oh wait, but see, the Acclaimed won their Eliminator Championship match, right? So they get did they win that? Don't they get a world title shot? I mean,
they do get a championship shot.
Do they, or did they win that match?
I don't remember.
I'm over the Acclaimed, so I just don't. I want Anthony Bowens by himself. I'm over that. Been well over Max Caster and his shenanigans, and I'm just over the Acclaimed altogether. So I could see also you don't want Tanahashi losing.
Yeah.
Because he's Tanahashi and he's the president of the company.
Well, and he's kind of like the ultimate face in this. Like he is you just brought in the faciest face. Like he's never been a heel. Never.
Right.
In his entire career. Like very few people do that. Like,
and also you have
he came in to like save the day.
There's the storyline between and you have the storyline between Tana and Okada. They've had a long history together. So so it's hard to say. I mean, like on paper, the reasons make sense for it to be the baby faces. You brought Tana in; he's the president of the company that is co-branded this, but also it's the Elite, and they do Elite things. So I mean, maybe this match ends. I would not be surprised if this match ends in a draw, or a no DQ,
or a DQ.
DQ because of some shenanigans, some Elite shenanigans.
Just
Brandon Cutler gets involved.
The pale,
Jack Perry gets involved. Brandon Cutler.
Yeah. Especially if that's earlier on the show that Jack Perry wins the belt,
right?
Then you're gonna
you have all four of them with titles.
Yep. That's a good point.
And so Miguel says they have 3 weeks of TV to announce the show and build the match for Blood and Guts. Oh, thank you. Blood and Guts is July 24th in Nashville. Yeah, I won't be there until a month later. I won't be there till the end of August.
That's all right.
Colin says Okada versus Naito would have been great at Forbidden Door. It would have, but I can't tell if they're, well, maybe not because it's Tana. I was like, sometimes I can't tell if they're mad at Okada and they just don't want him to be in a match against that they don't want him to be in a singles match against New Japan yet, but maybe not because there's new people in charge. But that kind of makes you wonder sometimes.
But still, I mean, you're gonna have people are human, and it's still gonna be a little bit of
I see the reasons for the Acclaimed and Tana, and I could totally see them winning. But for the sake of this, I'm just gonna say the Elite.
Okay. I think that you're probably more right than me.
But I can definitely see all the arguments, so I can see it going either way, or this match just doesn't
gonna be like cheaty though.
Or the Elite win, or the Elite wins via DQ because or I guess Tana and the Acclaimed win because the Elite cheat and get thrown out. Like I could see that being there will be shenanigans regardless.
Yeah, I mean they advertise.
And you have the whole thing with the well, that's not. I was gonna say there's the trio side, so perhaps there's something with the Bang Bang Gang here because they are the trios champions. I mean, I know that they claimed their focus on the tag title, so maybe not, but there is that factor too. And then you have the patriarchy who want the trios titles, so there's that. I mean, there's no belts involved here, other than they're carrying them out. But yeah, so yeah. This is the other match. One of the other matches I'm really, really excited for. I cannot wait for this. Title versus title match. Mercedes Moné is putting up her TBS championship against Stephanie Vacker, who has the Strong championship, which we know that title was created for one Mercedes Moné. Mercedes got injured in that match, called the audible, had Willow take that title. Willow carried the title for a bit, should have done more with it. And now we have, and then it's been around, and Stephanie has, if I'm not mistaken, Stephanie has like 3 other titles, I believe. I think she does. She's like mini Oklahoma Dragon over here. But she's like on her way to having that picture where she has all the titles up and down her arm and like around her neck and waist. Like she's on her way there.
Nice. She's great.
I'm so impressed with her every time I see her, and she's just got this presence about her. She's okay. Thank you. Lauren says she has 4 titles.
Wow.
Well, we know Colin said only one winner here, and it's not Stephanie. Yes. I mean, yes.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Mercedes 2 belts is going to be.
I mean, it has to happen. This is the big match. I mean, it's just what's great about it is it's going to be a hopefully good. It's going to be a good match. Mercedes will be able to get back to work. Mm-hmm. This is a great match up.
Yes.
I mean,
I can't think of a better match up for this. It's going to be so good. I hate that Stephanie's kind of a transitional champion. Hate that I don't like I'm not thrilled with that booking for her as far as that goes. But I don't think losing the Strong title to Mercedes Moné is going to hurt her at all.
No, I don't
it's going to only, I think, because of the way she wrestles and being able, she's going to make Mercedes work. Mercedes hasn't wrestled very much in the last year. Stephanie has. Mm-hmm. Stephanie is going to be hard on her. She hits hard. She brings this style and Mercedes loves this type of style. I mean, she was when she was training to get, even after she left WWE, she was training in Mexico, and then since her injury, she trained there again. She's very close with Kalisto. She's been training with him. She trained at some point before her match in Japan. She was training with Juventud Guerrera. So this is the style of wrestling it seems like she really has been wanting to do, and she got to do that with Zeus's a little bit, and which that match was great. And so I think this is going to be a really, really good match, and Stephanie is not going to go easy on her. She is not going to, even though she's walking in with 99.9% of us assuming she's going to lose, she's going to make it hard. And she's not gonna just roll over and let Mercedes take this title from her.
No, I think this is gonna be a tough. This is gonna be a tough match if everything shakes out right. I mean, I feel an incredibly hard hitting match.
Yeah, and I think she's also like Mina, where this is not going to be the last time we see Stephanie. I think Stephanie is going to be involved a lot more. When Tony was saying on the call that they're wanting to work more with Stardom, they have plans in place, but also with CMLL, he was like, they have different wrestlers who are working on visa things for both to go to Japan and to Mexico. But he was like, Mexico is a little bit easier to get to because of where it's at. So he has made it sound like that there are plans in place. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know if he's just saying things to be saying things, because he does that, but it appears
certainly does
that there seems to be a relationship there that's gonna see both teams going, or people going between both companies and countries. So hopefully that will be happening. And then we have some thoughts in the comments too that Lauren says that Stephanie has never lost a title except due to vacancy, which is an incredible feat.
Interesting.
That's very cool. Miguel says that Vacker is it has a real chance to raise her stock in front of her biggest audience yet. They had a great match in Long Beach, and she's gotten better since then. Great presence, and I hope we see more of her. All of that. Everything you just said.
Yep.
Everything.
100%.
Yes. And then Colin reminded me that when you get to Nina 10 belts, then come talk to me. I forgot that I had seen Nina Samuels did have 10 belts about 3 or 4 months ago, which is incredible. We love that. More women need to have a shit ton of belts like that.
All the belts.
Laurent says, what happens if Stephanie wins? Either way, her stock will be way up after facing Mercedes. If there wasn't the TBS championship on the line, I could see potentially Stephanie winning, but I think they're building Mercedes this way to build her up because Tony is not dropping that title anytime soon. And I think once she does, it will be to Mariah. And so that title is going to be unobtainable for a while. And we've talked about this before, like in the beginning, the TNT championship was supposed to be on the same level as the world championship. If TBS is supposed to be on the same level, then having Mercedes with that title and the strong title needs to be built back. Not that Stephanie hasn't done a good job building that up. I don't want to take anything away from what she's doing, but I think having Mercedes with 2 belts brings up the stock of both of those titles, depending on how they're going to book the strong title. But the strong titles, we do know from what Tana said, will only be defended in the US.
Yep.
So Mercedes will probably be busy doing some of the New Japan shows here as well. But I hope, regardless of what happens, that we get more Stephanie. I don't care. Give Stephanie a rematch and let her win it back. I don't care. I would not. You can do that too.
Agreed.
Miguel says that so many great matchups for Vacker and AEW. Politics with Roosh make things difficult, but imagine her against Deeb, Athena, Storm, and Riho. Please give me Stephanie versus Athena. Like all of those I want, but Athena, the style that Athena wrestles and the style that Stephanie wrestles, I need that in my life.
That would be God.
I still think Aminata is the one to take that title off of her. But God, Stephanie and Athena, whether it's for a title or not, I need it.
I'm into that.
I need it. Roosh was on a pre-tape. He was backstage. Because we talked about that. Yeah, it was a pre-tape where he came up and so and I think that it's just gonna be I think it was a pre-tape because at first I saw that too and I was like, why the hell is Roosh there when Stephanie's there? And then I was like, oh, it's backstage segment, so it's probably a pre-tape because they filmed Collision after Dynamite on Wednesday, so they probably filmed that somewhere. Or once that was over, or once she was out of the building, maybe, or kept them separated, kept her on her side of the building, kept him wherever to do it, and then that was it. And then Colin says Deeb versus Riho should be great. Yeah, I don't think it's happening tonight because there's not unless they announce it since we've been here. Riho did challenge Serena Deeb last night, or she answered her challenge rather, because Deeb was Serena Deeb won. She beat an independent wrestler. Talked about how she's not just going away because she didn't win the tournament. AEW, please give her somebody worthy, and out comes Riho. And so Riho is amazing, and I cannot wait. No, it's not on the buy-in. There's 4 matches on the buy-in already. The 2 women's matches are Mariah versus Saraya in the Owen Hart tournament, and then the tag match with Willow and Tam versus Chris and Momo. Yeah. And then there's 2 men's matches. So unless they add a 5th one, I assume that's going to be a Collision match, especially because Collision is getting ready to go to Arlington and they're trying to have some really big matches down there on Collision. And Tony has said they're bringing in the stars and things. I think Riho versus Serena, and Serena has been kind of like Collision has been her brand since she's been back. So I feel like that's probably going to happen there. But regardless, that's a pay-per-view. That's a pay-per-view worthy match to me. Yep. Like that's going to be a great matchup, and so yes, but that'll be a good one.
Right.
But so yes, I guess we're both in agreement that we think Mercedes wins here.
I think it's going to be a Mercedes win on this one, but I think that people that haven't seen Stephanie are going to enjoy the heck out of her.
Yes.
Ta-da!
All right, so then we have the match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Jon Moxley is the current champion. He is putting up his title against Tetsuya Naito. It's been a lot of conversation about this whole title reign since the day that Jon Moxley won this title. And there's been lots of comments from the people in the New Japan locker room, which some of it I think is to sell Forbidden Door and to sell people to kind of get like, that's how I felt all along, that it was not that they don't have valid points and valid arguments, but I feel like a lot of it has been played up to sell this pay-per-view, to kind of do it as an AEW versus New Japan type of thing. Like, I feel like but like they felt like this American guy comes in here, takes our title, defends it just wherever he wants to. But then Naito said in an interview with Sports Illustrated, I read it last night, Naito said Jon Moxley is the champion. He can do whatever he wants with it. If he wants to defend it in AEW, then he's the champion and that's his choice. He can do whatever he wants. And so he was like, but I have been paying attention to Jon Moxley. He said he's really, really great. He is on another level right now, and I've been keeping an eye on him. And so the build for this match has not been great.
No.
By any means, especially when you look at the build for the women's matches. However, it is Jon Moxley and it is Tetsuya Naito. Mm-hmm. I expect even bad knees and eye issues, all even those playing in here, I think this match will be really great. I expect it to be very hard hitting. I feel like it's gonna live up. I think a lot of people are gonna be, probably not a match of the night type of thing, but I think it's gonna be a really good one. Jon Moxley doesn't half-ass anything. Naito doesn't either. Naito's pissed, wants his title back. I think it has all the makings of. Then you do have, maybe Naito does have a little bit of his chip on his shoulder because of how New Japan and the locker room, how they see Jon Moxley's title reign. So maybe he wants to, he clearly wants to win it for himself, but maybe there's a little tiny part way down deep for Naito that maybe he wants to bring it back home for the locker room. But it's more for himself than anything. But I think it'll be a good match.
I think it'll be good. I don't see, these are two great wrestlers. So I do think that the belt is going home with Naito.
Especially before the G1. And Jon Moxley's not in the G1.
He's not in the G1. He doesn't look like he's going to Japan anytime soon. If whether those things are true or not, they've built up the story that they've essentially made it imperative that he wins it for to keep their dignity and get their title back to where it belongs before the.
Do you want to have a title? I believe there was another. Wasn't there? Has there been a title change on every Forbidden Door between New Japan and AEW, or was it just last year? I can't remember what. I feel like I read something last night about it, and I can't remember off the top of my head now what it was. But yeah, for this being a co-branded pay-per-view, New Japan's got to get some wins in, and this is I think the match.
This is the one. I don't think it's going to be a quick trip, but I think that does pretty much.
I feel like Naito has to go in to the G1 with us. Granted, obviously, it's not like the title's good. I guess you could make the argument that Jon Moxley could retain and to continue to defend the title, because while Naito is in the G1, he's not going to be defending the title. But then you kind of want the champion to be in the G1
because that's what you're fighting for,
right? And you get the winner of the G1 gets a shot at Wrestle Kingdom, right?
Right.
They
get a shot at the suitcase that will give them a contract to get.
Right. Yeah. Yes. There we go. Yes.
Because they have to make absolutely sure.
So I think there is that argument for Jon Moxley to retain because he can defend the title while Naito is in the G1, but I feel like Naito's going into the G1 as the champion.
Yeah, and this would be a big win to kick off the G1 too, because it is sort of an international deal.
Kick off G1 season. Pretty much, you're going into it with the title.
He's going home after this, and pretty much in the next it starts in a couple weeks.
Yeah, the July 20th, right? So, I think.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right around there. Yeah, it's the 20th or 22nd, sometime in there though.
Mhm.
But yeah,
And then it
it's a
ends
couple weeks
like,
off.
and then it ends like just days before Wembley. So that's why we
Mhm.
were joking with, in the small chance that Shingo does win,
Tiny chance.
the tiny window, it is plausible he could, but that's a whole lot of wrestling for Shingo in that period. So, but yeah, so
And
it'll
there's
be-
no more pay-per-views until then, so that would mean that Moxley would have the belt for that entire time. And even if like Shingo made
Unless-
it through, he couldn't.
unless John
Like,
Moxley goes to
Shingo
Battle of
could
the Belts.
challenge him for the belt, win it in America, but that just seems kind of
Yeah.
kicking the
Yeah, so
can
unless
down the
John
road a
Moxley's
little
gonna
too
wrestle
much.
on Battle of the Belts, where Battle of the Belts we don't do title changes. So.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be a big pay. This is a big pay-per-view. It needs to be a big title change. I mean,
I agree.
Naito's been fighting his way back to the title for quite some time,
And
including
Naito has
in
even-
storyline in Japan with the Sonata thing and all
Right.
this.
And
but,
Naito has talked about the fact that, he's on the other end of his career. He's
Mhm.
having various health problems. He's had the knee issues. He's had the eye issues a lot that have affected him. He knows that this could be this could potentially be one of his last title runs as well. And so there's not that, because John Moxley, like, I think New Japan means a lot to John Moxley. He wrestles it definitely, I think, going to Japan after WWE has set him on the journey that he's on now. We've talked about how there's AEW John Moxley, New Japan John Moxley, GCW John Moxley, independent John Moxley. Like, he has these levels and layers to him. And I think New Japan is special to, he has his residence card so that he can live in Japan if he wants to. He's able to. So I feel like but I think maybe just because of the BCC stuff, like, the storylines are kind of keeping him more here than in Japan. But I do see that. I think Naito wins here, but I think this is going to be a really good match. And Hassan says, waiting for Moxley to return to the AEW universe. Moxley is missed. They need him in the AEW title picture. It looks like Andy believes that John Moxley is going to take the belt here. Then we have, it says, do you know this match will be bloody hell besides John Moxley as a dirty superstar as a champion in Japan, but if Naito will become champion will become his champion and return to Japan, that he needs to go through John freaking Moxley. Yeah. So I think, and for the Japanese fans, like, that perception.
It's gonna be like,
Moxley,
oh my gosh, he's such a hero. Look what he went through. Like, look at the struggle. Because that stuff, again, it's perspective. So
right.
It will, and it's John Moxley. You just said it. You think he does have a love of it. He's gonna put Naito over like crazy. So it's just like, it'll be a huge win. However it goes down.
Yeah, he says, unfortunately, if Naito will become a champion and face against the G1, what would happen if John Moxley is still champion? How long is the G1? Yeah, or how long has he been? Yeah, because John Moxley's not in the G1, so he would have the title. And see, that's the thing. How long would he have it? Because Wembley is at the end of August, and do you do it? Like, who would John Moxley face as champion in Wembley, and how do you get that title back to Japan? There's Wrestle Dream, but that's October the 1st. So, or October 3rd this year, I think is what it is. But that's quite a ways away. Do you have John Moxley hold the IWGP championship through October? Like, that's unless they did a rematch they could do a rematch at All Out even, because they need big pay-per-views, but I don't know what the Japanese schedule is, what New Japan schedule is like. So there's a lot of factors that go into something like a decision like that. So I feel like Naito gets the title back here tonight and and then John Moxley, I don't know what he does next. John Moxley focuses on BCC.
All right, let's get to the next one.
All right, so
we got to the main event finally.
We made it to the main event, and we have the AEW World Championship is on the line. Swerve is defending it against the International Champion, Will Ospreay. The International Championship is not on the line here. This is only for Swerve's title. This is the only title on the line. However, Will Ospreay did tell Daniel Garcia if I win on, or when I win on Sunday and I have both of these titles, I will put both titles on the line against you at Beach Break on Wednesday, because the match is already set for the international championship between Will Ospreay, Daniel Garcia. So Will has said he has both titles. He'll put both titles on the line. So then we had the weigh-in segment last night, who, when I saw that it was announced, I was like, please don't let this go like that Cody Rhodes and Anthony Ogogo one, because that one was terrible. I know that they did it because Anthony is a boxer and that's his background and what they were doing. And Nikki, we were talking about it, how Cody and Nick Aldis did it before the original All In. They did it with that NWA title. That one wasn't so bad. But that one with Cody and Anthony Gogo was, I mean, a lot of it's just because that storyline in general was just not good. It was the beginning of the end for Cody. But so last night went a bit better. Of course, there were some shenanigans and some shit talking. Good Lord. And so they both come out. Will comes out with Kyle Fletcher, and weighed in at exactly 220. Swerve comes out with a whole entourage, including EJ Naduka, who used to wrestle in MLW. He is the judge. He wrestled in WWE and was let go. He's been around AEW here and there. He's had some matches. I heard he had a dark match on Wednesday with Marcus Mathers, who wrestles frequently in GCW. And so he comes out. He was part of that entourage. Westside Gunn was out there. Westside Gunn has been out in and out with Ospreay. I mean, with Swerve rather. So he comes out, looks like this. And Nick, because he kept saying he was a businessman, and I was like, well, I guess he can't say the mogul anymore because they're not the mogul embassy. So he was quick to not say that. But so it was a cool segment. And then Nana was interesting. Nana was the one to facilitate this, and we're like, all right, Prince and Prince Nana, ever the salesman, pitching his coffee. As any good pitch person does, you use any opportunity you can to sell your product. So then we
just
have
ask Yano.
Exactly. Yano also, he always has his DVDs. May not be able to sell it. No, he's completely out. That's right. He is completely out.
He's not in the G1. Yeah.
No G1 DVD selling for him. He will not be selling.
Bro.
He will not be selling Sister Act and Filthy Tom Lawler. But yeah, so you have Will running his mouth, talking some shit, saying that he's the best, and when he wins the title, he will prove that he's on another level. He's going to do all this stuff to Swerve. Swerve comes back and retorts with, and I wish I had wrote this down and I wish I had kept it. But yeah, so then Swerve, of course, gets his stuff in, and he was just like, I have earned this spot. Like I am the champion. There's no pressure on me. There's pressure on you. This is your first main event in AEW. And he was like, I've been here before. I know what to expect. I know what to do. And then Will Ospreay shoves him in the face. Then they start brawling, have to be held apart. And then all of a sudden, Will Ospreay comes with a running hidden blade out of nowhere and just like levels the champion. Then he snatches the title from Nana and is holding both of the titles in his hands, and just because one of the stories here has been that Ospreay hesitates and will not, like, he doesn't want to do Tiger Driver. He's been hesitating, and Swerve like hit him on Wednesday. Swerve hit him with that house call, and like that was a brutal house call. Like he just like leveled Ospreay. So Ospreay got his lick back in last night before this one. So this will be a good one. I'm really looking forward to this one. What are your thoughts on this match?
I think Swerve retains, regardless. I do think this is going to be an incredible match. I think it's going to push Swerve to his limits. It's really going to bring out. It has the potential to bring out the absolute best in him because of where Will is at, just as a wrestler.
Right.
I don't see them putting the belt on Ospreay this way, particularly.
I don't either. I don't think Swerve is going to have a short title reign. I know that was some of the concern that we had even talked about. Like, does he lose it at Forbidden Door? Because we had heard what the previous ideas were, and the previous idea was that, MJF was going to win that title back, and MJF would go into Wembley with that title, and that Ospreay would win it off of him. Now we've heard there's some other things going on, and I think that Tony really likes Swerve. I feel like Swerve he's proven that, like, he's a fan favorite. The fans love him. It took forever for us to even get here to get him the title, and I don't see him losing it now. I don't even know that he's going to lose it at Wembley at this point.
Yeah. No.
And I think I feel like they're going to, and Will can elevate we've talked about how he can elevate the international title just like Orange Cassidy did. He's talked about going to take it to other places like Pac did. Pac defended it in London several times, or in England several times.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ospreay could do that. He's got he used to wrestle Rev Pro all the time. He's got the Japan as the thing. So I feel like so Will can do that with the international title while Swerve is doing his own thing. I think they kind of did. I was surprised that they did this match at Forbidden Door, but I think they just wanted to get this match out of the way. I think everybody wanted to see this title. They wanted to see this match. And I think that because they go back a long way, Swerve and Ospreay have known each other for a really long time. Will was on Swerve's podcast a few weeks ago. So I think they just kind of wanted to get the match out of the way. I don't know if this is necessarily the way to do it, but I mean, the Forbidden Door is a big pay-per-view. And so now Swerve can focus on his own thing. And we talked about how, Swerve did a lot of not great things to become champion. And some of that shit's coming back to bite him in the ass.
Yep.
And so he has one more person that he has to deal with. And we got a vignette about this person last night, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I think this match will be really good. I see Swerve retaining here.
I actually think it will elevate his reign to win, to beat Will Ospreay in this. I spit on myself. Don't mind me, drooling. But I think it will actually help, like, ratify his title reign a lot, because he will have, beaten
one of the best.
I mean, the best. He is on another level, and then Swerve's going to beat him. And that makes it a big deal.
That makes Swerve, and Swerve is incredible as it is.
That future rematch is totally fine between these two.
Yeah, that's definitely a rematch people will want to see. And even LeRon says that he could lose it at Wembley to Danielson and win it back at Wrestle Dream. That's an interesting theory, but that's certainly possible. But yeah, I feel like Swerve wins here. I think, like you said, I think this match is going to elevate him. I think it's going to elevate his title reign even more, because like you said, Will is one of the best in the world, and to have Swerve beat him, and if he can beat him clean, which I think he can,
I hope so,
that just elevates Swerve even more. And then they go off and do their own thing for a while. Swerve has new people to face because he's the champion. Everybody's gunning for him. Ospreay has his thing that he's doing. He's already got Daniel Garcia lined up on Wednesday, which that's going to be a huge match for Daniel Garcia. Finally,
huge.
They're finally doing something with Daniel Garcia.
Yeah.
He got delayed doing that stupid, I'm not a wrestler, I'm a sports entertainer shit. And that just threw him completely off. And then he had the great C2, and he's been working his way back up, and he's finally getting this shot. And so unfortunately, I don't think Garcia wins on Wednesday. However, I think it'll be a match that will elevate him, because again, Ospreay is one of the best. And I think going in here will be really great. So yeah, I think that, I think it's going to be a good one. But yes, I definitely see Swerve retaining here and then doing their own thing. But while we're talking about this, and we'll wrap this up in a second. I meant to talk about this before the pay-per-view portion of this, but we got, hi Venkin, glad that you could make it. And yes, of course, we're still here.
We've been here. We're still here. Of course, we're still here.
we had to talk about some other things. We
had some things to get out of the way.
And now we are here. And but yeah, so last night during Collision, what I thought was going into a commercial, and my editor thought was a commercial, and completely ignored it and did not realize that a vignette was airing. There was a Hangman Page vignette that aired last night. We never see him in the front. We just see him from the back. We see like him reflecting back to Swerve coming into his home. We see there's a picture of him with the Elite, and then we see the video of the Young Bucks suspending him indefinitely for his actions at Revolution because he took out the like he was attacking referees and just being defiant and all that stuff. And so Hangman appears to be drinking again.
Yep.
He seems to be anxious millennial cowboy type of Hangman Page. We didn't see his face, so we don't know if he's still mustached Adam Page, but some of his behavior got him into that. But now he seems to be, he's all alone again. He's drinking. He has no friends. The Elite have turned on him. They've suspended him. Kenny is gone. He has nobody. So airing that vignette where they did last night, I don't think he's the wild card. I think if he were the wild card, we would have found out as soon as we heard his music when the bell rang, or when they announced him to come out after Jeff Jarrett was already in the ring. So and so then that also makes me wonder if Hangman will be in Blood and Guts against the Elite, which was something that we had talked about. Like, yes, of course, here's the story with Swerve and their enemies, but he's by himself now. Does he line up with Swerve to get back at the Elite for turning their backs on him? Is he in the Blood and Guts match? Is he not involved in it at all? Is he he seems to be doing something else now? It's interesting what they're doing here, but I don't think once they showed that, I was like, yeah, he's not the wild card.
I don't think he's the wild card. It would be really weird with what they're doing if that was what they decided on. Because what they seemed to set up in that vignette was that he's got way bigger issues than dealing with that. And I don't think he could keep it together to be in the ON.
Right.
They're setting him up to not be able to keep it together enough to be
right. And so then that also doesn't, we've talked about
how sitting there drinking, he was screaming at the universe, he was having just an existential crisis. He's in no shape to be in a tournament.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
is he
if anything, Swerve wins this match tonight and he comes out and just wreaks havoc or something, throws a big temper tantrum.
Yeah, there could possibly be that. Is he, if he's not in the shape to be in a tournament, is he in the shape to even wrestle in a cage? Right. Because the Blood and Guts match is brutal. We've seen injuries happen there, severe injuries. So is he even involved in that? Do they keep him away? They may keep him away from Swerve for a while. They
could do the thing like they did with Painmaker and that whole situation where he they slowly worked that in eventually until it became the whole thing where so they could do vignettes or sightings.
Yeah, they could do vignettes for a while, and maybe he doesn't come back tonight.
Sightings,
right? Yeah, so maybe he doesn't come back
until the next pay-per-view, for all we know. Maybe not that long, but that's something they maybe are setting up some sort of B plot that will culminate at All Out.
Sure,
because they have to do something a week after they do All In. So
well, and that's kind of
2 weeks after, and they have to do it on a non-holiday weekend this time.
Right. So we've talked about how they have to have big matches for that pay-per-view to sell it, because you again have to sell $50.
School is going to be started by then.
NFL's getting ready
for Labor Day. It's the weekend.
NFL's getting ready to start. You've got Tony.
Yeah, the NFL starts that weekend. I think that someone told us last week he's doing it on Saturday because the NFL starts. So
right. So I feel like
preseason.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do with this, especially because does he abandon that mustache character? Because that character got him, obviously, the matches with Swerve. He seemed to be going in a heel type of direction. Again, I told you I never thought I would hear Hangman Page booed in North Carolina and booed as badly as he was, where he was practically booed out of the building. I never thought in North Carolina I would see, because Hangman, while he's from Virginia, he He lives in North Carolina. He wrestled for my local promotion for several years before he went to ROH. Like, so he is, as much as he is a Virginian, North Carolinians have adopted him as one of our own.
Ospreay has been adopted by the Irish in a similar way, because he has played all over in like the tiniest, like crappiest venues for them. So I've been told he's been adopted as a son of Aaron. So
I can see that. So I feel like, so I'm very curious, like, to see, because I really enjoyed what he was doing with that. Like, I enjoyed the character work he was doing and seeing a different side of Hangman than we were expected. So, but it has left him to where he has nobody. He has no friends. He's drinking again. The Elite have left him behind. They have suspended him indefinitely. They've moved on. They've basically replaced him with Jack Perry and Okada. And so, so does he realize, like, hey, that didn't work out so well for me. I need to do something else now. But what is that? He's very lost, which is more of the anxious millennial cowboy type of stuff. So is that part of it? Like, so it'll be really interesting to see if he completely moves away from that character. But then that's also like where we have Swerve as the baby face now, or is more of a baby face than he was with Hangman, and Hangman obviously was a heel going into that last match. So I'm just really curious to see how that plays. And then once they do cross paths again, because their story, Hangman and Swerve's story is not it's definitely not finished, especially with the way it ended, because he was thrown out because he was attacking referees and things like that. So where does this go with them? They eventually are going to cross paths again, but you don't want to do it too fast and, take away from what Swerve is doing. So it'll be really interesting who he starts wrestling and who he because and the Dark Order is not really on AEW programming. They're more if they're used, they're typically used in ROH. They're not really used in AEW. So there's that. He doesn't have the Dark Order now either, unless they're going to bring the Dark Order back in on TV, but it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. So it'll be really interesting to see where he goes from here. And then of course that leads to who is Jeff Jarrett's mystery opponent, which you and I made our predictions last week because we thought that Hangman was a little too obvious. And so that, there's still those predictions that we had. My prediction was Scorpio Sky, because they had been airing vignettes and they've stopped. There's also Sammy Guevara, just because he's off TV, but Mel made some really good points that probably don't want to, because of what he got in trouble for, you probably don't want to put him in a tournament. Then Mel had the really good guess of Ricochet. If Ricochet's contract is up in June like we expected, today is the last day of June. So he could come Wednesday. He would be free and clear because his contract expired. So there's no non-compete for him. So
they didn't re-up him, so they just let his contract expire. So he's free.
He is, and I
mean, it's a decent surprise for a after show, and
right.
I don't know. It's possible. He was someone I threw out there just because he's potentially out there.
Yeah.
And especially after, it seemed a little too obvious for it to be Hangman. And then that vignette almost like it would be weird if they made him the wild card now.
Yeah, especially because the Young Bucks said they handpicked somebody. And so somebody asked me when I mentioned Scorpio to them, it was in our group chat, and they were like, but would he turn on go against Christopher Daniels? But I feel like from the few promos that they were showing, and of course they just stopped, he was coming off as the smarmy heel, like where you think he's the baby face, but he's not really. Like he's saying all the right things, but it's very much the politician.
Performative.
It's very much the politician or the religious person who says all the right things, but behind the scenes they're not doing those things. And so if that's what they're doing with Scorpio, he could potentially do something. The Young Bucks could definitely do something with him. Then somebody else made a point that I hadn't thought of, was maybe Christian, because Christian and the Young Bucks have been working together somewhat. They've made, they work with each other when it's necessary or when they're trying to accomplish something. Perhaps Christian's not somebody I thought of. LaRon made a good point that he wondered if Ricky Starks was
I
the
saw
wild card
that.
would be a great way to put him on TV. That Ricky Starks was who I said to put the TV title on before it got to all of this. I was like, just bring Ricky back and put the title on him. I would not be. I just want Ricky back on TV. So if Ricky is, I would be thrilled if it's him. I miss him. I want him on TV. There was the whole shenanigans from last week about the rumor going around about why he wasn't on TV that turned out to not be true. But
Yeah,
so,
because like all someone did was call the police and be like, yo, did anyone ever file this? And they were like, we don't have any information on that.
and they were like, but then they also said that even if they did, they couldn't give that type of
Couldn't give it
information.
to
But
you.
like one of my editors pointed out, he was like, he's one of the biggest stars in AEW. You don't think that wouldn't have been everywhere?
It's
so
that was Reddit needs to calm its
Yeah.
tits. Seriously.
and so
that subreddit needs to calm down a little bit.
They do need
sometimes.
to relax with that. But Vinkin says Dijak would be too soon. Yes, I think Dijak would be too soon. He did show up at Blitzkrieg Pro last night, which is his old stomping grounds. I think that's like kind of where he made a name for himself. And he's been announced for Prestige Roseland 9 there. That show, he was announced yesterday. So I think that's the first show he's been announced for. I think he'll probably do some indie stuff. It sounds like he'll be kind of busy. I would assume so, but yeah, I think it is too soon for him because he was just he was released 2 days ago. And not that he didn't know that they weren't going to renew his contract, but I don't know that AEW would have had enough time to like get on that and because it sounds like they've been planning out this tournament for a while. So I feel like probably not.
Plus, you wouldn't want to bring Hangman back like that to lose.
Oh, I was talking about Dijak, but yes, you would.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Hangman, you would not want to bring back to lose. And I don't think, but see, I think Jeff Jarrett, I don't think Jeff Jarrett's gonna. I don't think that he'll go past the first round. It's possible, but I don't think he will.
Yeah,
I think Jeff Jarrett's in this and he kind of, if you watch that full 9-minute thing, he does talk about all I've got to do is win 3 matches and I get the match at Wembley. But I forget now the way that he worded it, but he almost worded it like he knows like this is just a one-off thing. This is a way for me to honor my friend. And that's it. And he seems to be. And so, but I would not be, after the reaction he got from that promo, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think it's whoever the wild card is not going to lose that match. And I feel like the wild card, not necessarily that the wild card wins the tournament. I mean, it's possible.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to lose that first match, regardless of whether it's Ricochet, Ricky Starks, Scorpio Sky, or somebody we haven't thought of yet. It could be, maybe it's Wardlow. I mean, it could be anybody.
Maybe it's Chris Sabin or Alex Shelley.
Speaking of them, Alex Shelley posted Friday in his Insta story, his gear maker was making gear, photos in black and white, tags Alex Shelley, and it tagged an account. Chris Sabin is not on Instagram, but there was an account pretending to be him. And I think people don't realize that is not Project Sabin is not Chris Sabin. Chris Sabin is only on Twitter, but their gear maker tagged it. They did wrestle that night for freelance wrestling. I think they wrestled. So it's possible, but black and white gear, not black and white. The picture was in black and white and it was just a tiny picture. Did raise my eyebrow. Did get a little surprised. I don't know where the hell you would have them debut if they were debuting at Forbidden Door. I don't think that's
that seems like a bad idea. That seems like it should be for a whole show. So
I think they're coming in. I think they're coming in later. And Alex,
it'd be kind of a waste of their premiere if you
tonight,
did it that
not
way.
Tonight for that.
And
also, we know it will not be
pay-per-view.
It will also not. Grizzled Young Veterans will not be there tonight. They're wrestling actually here in North Carolina. They're wrestling. My friend is at that show. He was supposed to do a meet and greet with them, but the meet and greet got canceled. They're still wrestling. It sounds like it's travel issues. But Mustafa is on that card.
I think Motor City is wrestling on an indie show tonight. So.
Yeah, and they wrestled
or last night.
Yeah, so they wrestled Friday. Motor City wrestled on Friday against the former Bang Brothers. They got their name cease and desist, so they're not the Bang Brothers anymore. But that's who they wrestled. And I thought with Alex Shelley did drop the Revolver Championship, but then the next, like a few days later, a promo came out because he's aligned with Matthew Palmer and Rich Swann, and they're heels together there. And now they have Alex Shelley's idea is that they go for the tag titles and they freebird it just to keep their opponents on their toes so they never knew who they're wrestling or something like that. So it sounds like he's going to be doing so for, not that he can't like do AEW and Revolver, but it sounds like Revolver still has him planned for stuff. So I don't think they're coming anytime soon. I think it'll be a while for them. But back to the Forbidden Door card before we let people go. What do you think is gonna be what is your sleeper match?
I honestly think that Willow and Tam and that Momo Chris Statlander one is gonna be a little bit of a hidden gem. And
yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, I really think even though it might be early on, I mean, it's in the 0 hour, but I think that one, and then maybe. I mean, I'm really into that Zack Sabre match. So
me too. I think that might be. I think people might overlook it just because of what all the
so
card is
much
stacked,
on the card.
But I feel like that's going to be the match that really delivers. But I feel like
he hasn't put on, like, Orange Cassidy hasn't put on a bad show at one of these things. So I just
Venkin says he's watching 0 hour for the Tam match.
Yeah,
that match is going to be really good. I'm looking forward to that one. And I think I'm excited for. I feel like for me, I think the match of the night will probably be Mercedes and Stephanie. I think that's gonna and I think that Tony and Mina. I think that's gonna be. I think Tina
and Tony. Tony
and Mina. I think is gonna be really good as far as just the story and the match, just like everything overall. But I think maybe match wise, maybe Mercedes and Stephanie might be my match.
It'll probably be the better like wrestling match all the way around.
Right, I agree, and that's not to say Tony and Mina is going to be. Tony and Mina are going to be. They're going to kill it.
There's probably going to be some extraneous because there's a story being told there, a big story.
Yes, right. So I feel like I think for me, I think Mercedes and Stephanie will be a match of the night. But then I think that, but I think it's going to be really close because I think Danielson and Takagi are going to put on a clinic, and I think that. But I think my sleeper probably will be Zack Sabre Jr. and Orange, just because on any other card that match would probably be like match of the night. Yeah, it'll be a headline. And I feel like there may be, because people aren't focusing on it as much, that takes a little bit of pressure off of them. And I think that they're going to deliver. And I think, like you said, Orange Cassidy, he's had really incredible matches on Forbidden Door. And then Zach is Zach. And I've never seen Zack Sabre Jr. have a bad match ever. So Vinkin says that he's taken a nap during Jericho. We talked about this before. If Jeff Cobb was not in that match, we'd be
right there with you.
Interested. However, may still end up being a bathroom break match, or let me go refill my drink, or Miley, let's go outside before it's raining right now, so maybe we'll stop and take Miley out. But Jeff Cobb makes me more interested in that match.
It puts my attention to it in a way that I would not have really cared, except that Jeff Cobb's in the match now, so I might care a little more. But yes, that is definitely the least exciting match probably on the card for me.
Yeah, and
I mean the ladder match, meh. But
the ladder match I think will be a lot of fun.
I think
it's just very obvious who's gonna win. Yeah. But I think the match itself will be fun. I think there's gonna be cool shit. Somebody better
be more storytelling.
If anybody's gonna do a destroyer. Oh nope, I take that back. The Lucha Brothers Penta will probably do one for me. I think yes, Minkin. That's what we said.
We all know that. Yes,
that Jack Perry wins. If they are possibly going with anybody else, it would be Takeshita. Have him take that title into the G1, but then I don't think that's going to happen.
We all think Jack Perry is going to be the guy.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Which is why we were like, this match didn't have to be on a pay-per-view because it's very obvious what they're doing.
Right.
There's probably going to be some shenanigans with the Elite or Elite adjacent and Brandon Cutler.
Well, I would almost guarantee it.
Yes. And the same with the Elite match versus the Acclaimed and Scissor Ace. We expect shenanigans. We are even expecting that shenanigans will factor into how this match ends.
Most likely.
Yes. So is there any, before we let all these wonderful people go, thank you for hanging out with us for a very long time.
Almost right up to the show time, just like always.
Well, we had an important conversation that we needed to get to.
We did.
People who are Wrestling Observer subscribers, and even for those of us who are not, so we know what is happening. But is there any other? Oh, before I was gonna say, do you have any other closing thoughts?
The one thing that we and I have.
I think we have the same thought. Go ahead.
The closing thought that I have is that I have this up on the thingy. So if you are not subscribed to our channel, subscribe and click that notification button, because right after Forbidden Door tonight, speaking of strong style, Steven and Jeremy Feinstein and Stephen Conway will be doing their thing.
Yeah.
They will be doing our post Forbidden Door show live.
Yes.
So go, since we'll all be fired up at 2 a.m. our time. Go
Listen,
hang out with them.
I'm a night owl as it is, so I will probably be up, even though I do work from home and I do have to work tomorrow. Will probably be at least in the chat, even if I'm in and out of the chat. It's usually on at the same time as usually. I kind of hang out, see what's happening
the scrum
with the scrum too. If it's like last time, I'm not going to miss anything. It was but Lyric is there. She's going to be there tonight, so I'm excited about that.
This is her third one. Yeah, she went again.
Yes, this is her 10th. This is her 10th scrum overall, and so she's really excited about that.
Right. We love you, Lyric. Keep up the good work.
Yes. So strong style. Yes, they will be live as soon as I don't know if it's as soon as the pay-per-view is over, or if it's like maybe 15 minutes, but make sure that
if you're on there, you hit the thingy, it'll notify you, it'll come right up on your device that you want it to, and then it'll say, hey, they're gonna go live. And
yes, and if you follow Powerbombshells on Twitter, we'll be letting you know when they're going to be going live and tweeting you reminders. And so you can also follow at Fight Game Media. They will be posting it as well. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate that. But so make sure you subscribe.
everyone in the chat.
Yes, thank you all. Yeah, and even if you're not in the chat and you're just checking us out, we appreciate that too. And we will be back next week. We promise we will not be going for 4 hours next week. Well, I should say I can't make any promises.
I don't know. There's a lot of crap going on at WWE.
Yes, so we'll be here next week at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And again, thank you for hanging out with us, and enjoy Forbidden Door, and come back next week when we talk about the fallout, and let us know what you thought about the show. And you can always tweet us, because we'll be tweeting about the show too.
We're around. You can find us.
Yes.
Thank you guys.